Chapter 1441. I'll go with you. Ji Jotian propped himself up and landed beside Yun Luofeng in a red robe. Your injury, it's fine. Don't worry. All right. Yun Luofeng nodded. She raised her head and walked forward. It had to be said that this cave was very long. It was so long that one could not see the end of it from afar. If we leave, will Enchanting leave as well? Yun Luofeng frowned. He had noticed the anger and murderous intent in Enchanting's eyes when he fed Ji Jotian the medicine. It was too dangerous to keep such a ticking time bomb by his side. There's a way to get rid of him. Ji Jotian smiled. Find Zhu Qian's reincarnation as soon as possible and push the blame to her. Then, even if he finds out that you're pretending to be Zhu Qian, you'll still be able to return the favor. Yun Luofeng glanced at Ji Jotian. Are you betraying your brother? There's no other way. Ji Jotian smiled wickedly. Letting Zhu Qian be pestered by this guy is better than letting him follow us. Don't you think so? That's a good idea. Yun Luofeng rubbed her chin. She might be able to get rid of Enchanting as long as she found Zhu Qian's reincarnation. It seemed that she had to find Zhu Qian after leaving this place. Oh right, what should we do if Zhu Qian still refuses to accept Enchanting? Ji Jotian fell silent. After a long while, a sinister look flashed across his eyes. Do you have any medicine that can change his sex? If you turn Enchanting into a woman, you might be able to marry him. Yun Luofeng's eyebrows twitched. If I have such a medicine, I'll turn you into a woman first. Then, you might be able to get married immediately. You won't have to be a virgin for the rest of your life. Ji Jotian's face darkened. Would this woman die if she didn't mention those words? As they spoke, a secret door appeared in front of them. Yun Luofeng raised her hand, gently pushed the door open, and slowly walked in. Yun Luofeng was stunned when she saw the scene inside. The entire room was filled with treasures. Whether it was medicinal herbs, books, or weapons, there was everything. There was even a blood-colored spring in the middle of the room. The gurgling sound of the spring water was like the sound of bleeding, making one's hair stand on end. However, there was not a trace of blood in the spring water. Instead, it was filled with a faint fragrance. When Yun Luofeng inhaled this fragrance, he felt the spirit energy in his body increase a little. Master, it's the blood spirit spring. If you soak in this blood spirit spring, your strength will increase very quickly. We're rich this time. Little Mo's excited voice sounded. His voice was like that of a starving man who had seen delicious food and could not wait to devour it all. On the other hand, Ji Jotian wasn't very surprised. His eyes were still smiling. I never thought that Zhu Qian would hide all of his treasures in this illusion. No wonder so many experts couldn't find anything back then. Feng, or as Zhu Qian's successor, it's only right for you to inherit it. Yun Luofeng fell silent. She didn't know why, but she felt that everything was predestined. For example, she had once obtained Zhu Qian's puppet technique, and in order to refine a puppet, one must have a lich bone. That was why she had come to this illusory realm. Chapter 1442. It was also because she wanted to refine puppets that she had stepped into this place and seen all of Zhu Qian's treasures. Haha. A maniacal laugh rang out. Xiang Fei, who had been fleeing for his life, charged out as if he had gone mad. He laughed maniacally as he stared at the treasures in the room. I'm rich this time. These are all mine. His eyes turned bloodshot as he glared fixedly at Yun Luofeng and Ji Jotian. Whoever dares to snatch my treasures, I'll take him down with me. Yun Luofeng stared coldly at Xiang Fei, who had charged out. Her peerless features were filled with a sinister chill. Actually, she had sensed that Xiang Fei had been following them secretly, but she had ignored him. She never thought that Xiang Fei would lose all sense of reason and charge out upon seeing the treasures. His eyes were bloodshot, and his greedy expression could be seen clearly. Xiang Fei hugged one of the long swords and wished that he could lick it clean. Back then, he had not done so in the end. He had only protected the treasured sword in his arms tightly as he glared at Yun Luofeng and Ji Jotian with bloodshot eyes. Oof, everything here is mine. Get out of my sight and don't you dare lay a finger on my treasures. As long as I have these treasures, My powers will increase by leaps and bounds. From now on, who on this mainland would be a match for me? Ha! Xiang Fei burst into maniacal laughter at the thought of this. His disheveled hair swayed with his maniacal laughter and he looked like a madman. Get out, all of you, get out! When he saw that Yun Luofeng and Ji Jiutian had remained silent, he continued to roar angrily in an attempt to chase them out of his territory. That was right. After discovering these treasures, Xiang Fei had gone completely mad. Even his fear towards Ji Jiutian has disappeared and he has turned the room into his territory. I had initially wanted to leave this place first before dealing with him. But now, Ji Jiutian smiled eerily. I have no choice but to kill him first. Boom! A powerful aura rose with a bang and crushed Xiang Fei so much that his entire body trembled. He then fell to the ground with a thud. Because when he fell, he wanted to find the handrail and accidentally smashed the ceramic jar on the side, revealing the hidden button on the ceramic jar. In the meantime, Xiang Fei pressed his hand on the button. With a bang, the button exploded, sending his body flying. Boom! The entire space began to crack, and the room began to tremble as if it would collapse at any moment. What's going on? Yun Luofeng frowned slightly, and a serious look flashed in his eyes. No! Suddenly, a terrified voice came from the front. When Yun Luofeng turned to look, he saw that Xiang Fei's body was gradually becoming transparent, as if he would shatter at the slightest touch. Under his terrified gaze, he saw his body slowly disappearing. Not long after, his vision turned blank and he gradually disappeared from the room. Disappeared? Yun Luofeng frowned and a cold look flashed in his eyes. Is he dead or... Before he could finish his question, a familiar and arrogant voice rang out in this space. My successor, you finally appeared. Looks like you've obtained my books and are here for the lich bone. A transparent and domineering figure slowly appeared in front of the two. Chapter 1443. The man in front of him was also dressed in red. Compared to Ji Jiutian's monstrous talent, this man was more aloof and arrogant. His eyes seemed to look down on the common people, as if he was a high and mighty king, looking down on the ants beneath him with an arrogant gaze. That's right, it was ethereal vision. Only a truly powerful cultivator would have this kind of gaze that looked down on the common people. Just this gaze alone was enough to kill everything in an instant. Ji Jiutian's expression was exceptionally ugly. Back then, I was wondering why your soul was so weak. No matter how serious your injuries were, it was impossible for you to be this weak. However, what I didn't expect was that you would divide your soul into several parts. Do you know that your actions will affect your talent after you reincarnate? Zhu Qian raised his chin arrogantly. His figure was tall and domineering, like a huge mountain, making it hard for people to breathe. This was Zhu Qian, the divine Dr. Zhu Qian who had caused everyone to tremble in fear. After coming to this illusion, there is only one way to leave. That is, to inherit all of my abilities, and after passing the test, I will naturally let you leave. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Mo Qianqing said that there is a switch here that can let me leave the illusion. Is he lying to me or... No, he doesn't know anything. Indeed, the one who had set up the illusion was Zhu Qian. Mo Qianqing only knew that he could not get close to this place and must have felt that the switch was definitely here. He did not know that there was only one way to leave after stepping into the illusion. All right. Yun Luofeng took a deep breath. Tell me, how can I leave? Zhu Qian's transparent figure in front of him was unable to conceal his domineering aura. He was so powerful that people who stood in front of him would feel suppressed. First, you must break through 3 levels consecutively. Breaking through 3 levels consecutively meant that he had to break through from the middle level of a holy king to the middle level of a holy venerable. My man is still waiting for me outside. Can I bid farewell to him before completing the test? Zhu Qian's voice was still domineering. If you can't complete the test, you won't be able to leave. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's brows twitched again. She thought of the people at the spirit heaven realm. The same stubbornness and tyranny. Back then, Yun Shao had given her the celestial spirit mirror, but she had unintentionally entered the celestial spirit mirror on the way to meet Yun Xiao. She had originally begged that person in the celestial spirit realm to let her save Yun Xiao first before continuing with the assessment. That person was equally stubborn. If he didn't complete the mission, he wouldn't be able to leave. Fortunately, the time in the spirit heaven realm was different from the outside world, so she was able to make it in time and face those strong enemies together with Yun Xiao. You said that this was only one test. What about the second one? Yun Luofeng asked. For the second test, you must successfully create a puppet. If you can't create a puppet, you won't be able to walk out of this illusion. Not to mention that the first assessment required a lot of time, the second assessment also required a lot of time. Who knew when he would be able to create a puppet? Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment. I can stay for the test, but I have a request. I hope that my spirit beasts can appear. With such a good thing like the spiritual blood pool, she definitely wanted to share it with her spirit beasts. Perhaps during this period of time, her spirit beasts could increase their strength by more than one level. Zhu Qian swept a domineering gaze at Yun Luofeng. Spirit beasts can appear in the first place. I just don't allow those spirit beasts that already exist in the illusion to come here. Those spirit beasts that you brought are naturally allowed to appear. It was Emo Qianqing who misunderstood. Chapter 1444. Zhu Qian, can I ask you one last question? Yun Luofeng's pitch-black eyes stared deeply at the man in front of her. How can I find your reincarnation? Zhu Qian still said the same thing. You'll know when you see him. Boom. At that moment, Yun Luofeng felt an explosive pain in her head. She frowned as if something had exploded in her mind. After a while, a memory that did not belong to her surged into her mind. In that memory was a young man who had been abandoned by his family and betrayed by his companions. He had walked step by step towards a supreme position and had even become an unparalleled powerhouse. Speaking of which, she and Zhu Qian were very similar. They had both come from the lowest level of the Roaring Dragon continent. They had then gradually stepped onto the Wuhui continent and finally arrived at the 7 continents. However, what surprised Yun Luofeng even more was that this memory contained all of Zhu Qian's life's knowledge. The problems that she didn't understand from the puppet creation book were suddenly solved, as if she was suddenly enlightened. Now, you have inherited my past memories. Zhu Qian looked down at Yun Luofeng from above. With these memories, you can successfully forge the puppet technique. I have even passed on all my battle techniques to you. I hope you cherish them. The pain in Yun Luofeng's mind finally disappeared. She looked up at the man in front of her. Back then, when I met your first remnant soul, why didn't you pass these to me directly? Instead, you lured me here? Back then you were still weak. Knowing too much wouldn't do you any good. Furthermore, I haven't passed on all my memories to you yet. There are some things that you can't come into contact with your current strength. How could Yun Luofeng not understand the meaning behind Zhu Qian's words? She pondered for a moment before slowly saying, "Thank you." Zhu Qian took one last look at Yun Luofeng. Those domineering and arrogant eyes were filled with gratification. It seemed that Yun Luofeng's current achievements had already made him very satisfied. Zhu Qian. Seeing Zhu Qian's figure gradually become transparent, Ji Jiutian frowned slightly. Do you still remember what you promised me back then? Zhu Qian smiled. It had to be said that this man was very good-looking when he smiled. He was not as arrogant as he used to be. Instead, he gave people a feeling that he was as beautiful as a painting. She's my successor, so it's only natural for her to help you. Ji Jiutian did not continue to pester her. His expression was very calm and an undetectable ray of light flashed across his phoenix-like eyes. Yun Luofeng suddenly had a bad feeling as he listened to the conversation between the two of them. It seemed like she had been sold by Zhu Qian. Zhu Qian, your reincarnation can't help me? Ji Jiutian was silent for a while before he asked the last question. Zhu Qian shook his head. Back then, I split my soul to guide my successor. Because of that, my soul became exceptionally weak. Even though I've already reincarnated as a human, based on the current state of my soul, I won't be able to achieve what I once did. So, the only one who can help you now is her. Zhu Qian's arrogant and domineering figure finally disappeared after he finished speaking. The entire room fell silent. Ji Zhoutian, help me call TT over. Yun Luofeng added, the rest of the spiritual beasts will enter the spiritual blood pool to cultivate first. With a treasure like the spiritual blood pool here, she believed that it wouldn't take long for her to break through to the mid-level holy venerate. Chapter 1445. Time flowed like water. Unknowingly, 3 years had passed in this illusion. Yun Luofeng's talent was indeed very strong, and with the help of the spiritual blood pool, she had only spent a year to break through from a saint ruler to a mid-level saint venerable. In fact, at this level, unless one had the help of rare treasures, they might not be able to break through even after 10 years. Therefore, Yun Luofeng's luck was pretty good. She actually obtained Zhu Qian's inheritance. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to possess the spiritual blood pool and reach the mid-level holy venerable realm in a short year. Unfortunately, even though she had become a holy venerate, she could not leave this illusion. Therefore, she spent the next 2 years researching the art of puppetry. The creation of puppets was extremely difficult. She had spent an entire 2 years before she was able to thoroughly study it. Unfortunately, even if she had thoroughly studied it, she might not have been able to succeed. Within 2 years, the beasts broke through one by one. First of all, fire had directly broken through the Saint Sovereign Realm and reached the low level of the Saint Sovereign Realm. Even Xiao Mo could not compare to her and only stayed at the high level of the Saint Sovereign Realm. Of course, if he was given a little more time, he would also be able to break through the Saint Venerable stage and enter the Saint Monarch stage. In addition, Milk Tea and the Mouse Queen had both reached the middle stage of the Holy Master a few months ago. Meng Meng also advanced yesterday and became a gold-seeking mouse at the middle stage of the Holy Master. The residents of the rat tribe also changed their previous strength. The weakest among them was a high-level Holy King, and most of them had broken through to a low-level Holy Venerable. Although TT was stronger than fire in the beginning, his innate talent was not as good as fire, and his absorption speed was slower. Therefore, his current strength was only at the level of a Saint Lord. Even though both spirit beasts were saints, it was a pity that one of them had broken through from a low-level Saint King to a saint, while the other had already become a Saint Venerate. The difference in talent between the two was obvious. The only one that people couldn't see through was the small tree. Even Yun Luofeng didn't know what realm the little tree had reached. During these 3 years, fire and the other spirit beasts were busy cultivating. The people of the rat clan were unable to absorb spiritual energy to break through, so their cultivation method was to swallow the spring water of the blood spirit spring. It was estimated that only the rat clan could do this. If other spirit beasts swallowed the spring water, they would immediately explode and die. But the sapling was just playing in the spring. There were no signs of a breakthrough, but for some reason, everyone noticed that there was a great change in his body. That change surpassed everyone else's. Under the azure sky, Yun Luofeng was busy fiddling with the puppet in her hands. Mo Qianqing sat to the side, staring at her with infatuated eyes. That gaze seemed to pierce through that body and see an old friend from 1,000 years ago. I finally succeeded. The girl slowly heaved a sigh of relief and stood up from the ground. She wiped the sweat off her forehead and her lips curled into a shallow smile. In front of her lay a chestnut-haired little Lolita. This little Lolita's eyes were also chestnut-colored, and her gaze was dull. However, under Mo Qianqing's astonished gaze, the little girl slowly stood up. Her eyes seemed to be covered by a thin layer of mist, appearing dull and lifeless, but her limbs were very nimble, not stiff at all. "You created a puppet?" Mo Qianqing excitedly rushed towards the little Lolita. He raised his hand and touched the little Lolita's extremely elastic skin. His eyes flashed with excitement. "This skin is no different from human skin. It is too elastic. Zhu Qian, you are really amazing." Chapter 1446. I said, "My name is Yun Luofeng." Yun Luofeng glanced at Mo Qianqing's excited face and said indifferently. Mo Qianqing's eyes darkened and he lowered his gaze to hide the disappointment in his eyes. "I'm sorry, I won't call you by the wrong name again. What if he made another mistake and Zhu Qian didn't want him?" This puppet is not perfect. Yun Luofeng's lips curled. Her strength is only at the low level of a holy king. To me, a puppet of this strength is not enough. Mo Qianqing nodded, not fully understanding. You mean this still failed? No, she is only a semi-finished product. Fortunately, I have studied for 2 years and finally understood the essence of puppet making. This time, I have 100% confidence that I can make a complete product. In these 2 years, she had wasted many materials. The only good thing was that Zhu Qian had prepared all the materials for her, so she had the capital to waste. After saying this, Yun Luofeng no longer paid attention to Mo Qianqing and continued to make the puppet seriously. Mo Qianqing silently retreated to the stone. He rested his chin on his hand and could not bear to look away from Yun Luofeng. Time passed slowly. This time, Mo Qianqing did not have to wait too long. Another puppet appeared in front of Yun Luofeng. Compared to the previous puppet, the one in front of him was no longer a cute and harmless little Lolita. Instead, it was a well-dressed man. This man's muscles were tight and well-defined, and he looked powerful. Even if his appearance was ordinary, he would still stand out in a crowd. Mo Qianqing's small face immediately darkened and he said angrily, Yun Luofeng, why did you make a man? However, Mo Qianqing, whose face was originally filled with rage, suddenly revealed a smile on his face as he seemed to have seen something. Yun Luofeng looked at Mo Qianqing strangely. Was there something wrong with this guy's brain? One moment he was angry, the next he was smiling. Could it be that he had gone crazy after being locked up for too long? Because the dragon spirit in the lich bone had been released, it was now quietly staying by Mo Qianqing's side. It did not know why Mo Qianqing's expression changed so quickly. It roared in confusion, its eyes full of doubt. Mo Qianqing was very happy. While Yun Luofeng was creating puppets, he had forgotten to create something very important to men. Therefore, even if this puppet possessed a human consciousness in the future, it would still be a eunuch. Yun Luofeng, I knew that you were good to me. Mo Qianqing smiled brilliantly, revealing 2 canine teeth. Otherwise, you would not treat this puppet like this. After saying this, Mo Qianqing rode the giant dragon soul and soared into the sky. Right at this moment, Ji Jiotin walked to Yun Luofeng's side. Yun Luofeng was like a monk scratching her head in confusion. She pointed at her own head and said, Is there a problem with Mo Qianqing? Ji Jiotin stroked his chin and nodded seriously. I think so. If there wasn't something wrong with his brain, as a man, how could Mo Qianqing fall in love with Zhu Qian? How is it? Ji Jiotin's phoenix eyes swept over and landed on the muscular man behind Yun Luofeng. He narrowed his phoenix eyes slightly. This is the puppet you made? Yun Luofeng nodded. Unfortunately, I still can't let him have human consciousness. Chapter 1447. It's already very good that you were able to successfully create a puppet. As for consciousness, Ji Jiotin paused before continuing. Back then, Zhu Qian researched for many days but was unable to find a perfect method. The book that Zhu Qian left behind only mentioned a method to make a puppet gain consciousness. Unfortunately, even Zhu Qian only managed to find a little bit of it and had not developed a complete method before he met with an unexpected calamity. One day, I will successfully create a puppet with consciousness. Yun Luofeng's voice was very firm. Now that I've completed the test that Zhu Qian gave me, we can immediately leave the illusion. 3 years. She had stayed in this illusion for a whole 3 years and did not know what had happened in the outside world. Would Yun Xiao be frantically searching for her? Suddenly, Yun Luofeng felt an imprint in her divine sense. She was slightly startled and a trace of confusion flashed across her eyes. What is this? Master, little Mo's voice sounded from within her soul. You've completed Zhu Qian's test and he has already given you the illusion. From now on, you can come and go as you please in this illusion. Hearing this, a trace of joy flashed across Yun Luofeng's eyes. Did this mean that she could also send people from the army to cultivate in the illusion? If I control this illusion, what will happen to Mo Qianqing, who is the heart of the illusion? Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed as she asked in a low voice. Little Mo pondered for a while before replying to her. Master, even though Qianqing is the heart of the illusion, he is not a treasure nor a spiritual beast. You cannot force a contract with him. Therefore, he will follow by your side for the rest of his life. If he finds out that you are impersonating Zhu Qian, he will definitely bring danger to you. Yun Luofeng was a little disappointed. She had originally thought that once Zhu Qian had transferred the illusion to her, the ticking time bomb that was Qianqing could be removed. Furthermore, Qianqing cannot die. If he dies, the illusion will collapse. To Master, the gains do not make up for the losses. Little continued, however, the only good thing is that Qianqing cannot leave the illusion temporarily. Temporarily? What does that mean? Does Master know why Qianqing's cultivation speed in the illusion is so slow? That was also purposely set up by Zhu Qian. When Qianqing reaches a certain level of strength, he will be able to leave the illusion. Yun Luofeng's heart suddenly tightened. It looked like she had to quickly increase her strength to deal with the dangers she would face in the future. Qianqing flew down from the sky on his dragon. He seemed to have sensed something as he stared at Yun Luofeng. Are you leaving? He pursed his lips and asked in a low voice. Yun Luofeng nodded. I still have family and friends outside. I can't stay here forever. A red light flashed in Qianqing's eyes. He forcefully grabbed Yun Luofeng's arm and said in a fit of pique, You're not allowed to leave. I won't let you go. I've waited for you for so many years. Why did you abandon me? Qianqing, let her go. Ji Zhoutian's eyes flickered with blood-red light as he stared at Qianqing coldly. Not to be outdone, Qianqing glared back. Don't think that I don't know that you want to snatch her from me. I won't let her go. If you want to leave, you can leave alone. Just as Ji Zhoutian took a step forward, Yun Luofeng raised his hand to stop him. Chapter 1448. Qianqing, let go of me first, she said with a slight frown. Qianqing was startled. He then realized that he had used too much force and caused Yun Luofeng's wrist to turn red. His heart tightened and his eyes filled with pain. He was so nervous that he could not even speak properly. I didn't do it on purpose. Does it hurt? I can help you rub it? Qianqing, I have already taken control of this illusion. When I leave, I will bring this illusion with me. Similarly, you will be by my side, Yun Luofeng said solemnly. Qianqing's heart leaped with joy, as if he did not dare to believe Yun Luofeng's words. You won't abandon me? You are willing to take me with you? Yun Luofeng nodded and said, Moreover, in the future, my subordinates will enter the illusion to cultivate. Before Qianqing saw through her lies, the people around her would be safe. Even if the army entered, there would not be any losses. All right. Qianqing's gaze was fixed on Yun Luofeng. You are not allowed to lie to me. Otherwise I will not let you off. As he said the last sentence, Qianqing's body was filled with hostility and the red light in his eyes became more and more intense. Dijujin, let's go. Yun Luofeng took one last look at Qianqing before turning her gaze to Ji Zhoutian. We have stayed here for 3 years. It's time for us to leave. Since she was the current owner of this illusory realm, she only needed a flash of thought to leave the illusory realm. Of course, she left the beasts in the illusion to continue cultivating. Yun Luofeng did not know that in the 3 years that she had left, the central continent had undergone earth-shattering changes. 3 years ago, a ray of light suddenly flashed in the illusion of the sorcerer demon tribe. Then, Xiang Fei's figure appeared in the square of the sorcerer demon tribe. When the clan leader of the sorcerer demon tribe heard this, he immediately led his men there. Who knew that Xiang Fei would keep laughing like a madman? The clan leader wanted to ask about Yun Luofeng's situation, but the madman Xiang Fei only said a few words. They're all dead, all dead. When these words were spoken, the clan leader's heart skipped a beat, all dead. In other words, apart from Xiang Fei, all the people who entered the illusion were dead? Unfortunately, the clan leader's words came too early, because after Xiang Fei said those words, his body became transparent and was gradually disappearing. Seeing this, the clan leader angrily rushed towards Xiang Fei. He grabbed his collar tightly and scolded angrily, Xiang Fei, did you kill them? Xiang Fei merely sneered at the clan leader. Then, he didn't even have the time to say a single word before he was annihilated and vanished in time. But the smile he left behind at the end still caused Xiang Fei to misunderstand. It was someone from the Poison Valley who killed Yun Luofeng. Therefore, he immediately gave the order to find Yun Luofeng's family, planning to inform them of this news. Without waiting for the news of Yun Luofeng's death to reach the ears of her family, the people from the Poison Valley once again came knocking. Xiang Fei, who had already been poisoned, was on the verge of death under the attacks of the Poison Valley. Fortunately, Grandpa Jun arrived in time to kill those people from the Poison Valley. Grandpa Jun had just found out that Yun Luofeng was his own granddaughter. He had also heard that she had come to the Lich's bone. So, he had rushed over in excitement. Who knew that he would receive such a grievous news? Can you understand the feeling of having just received news of a loved one's death, only to receive grievous news when he came looking for the news? Chapter 1449. Grandpa Jun, who had been in high spirits, aged decades in an instant. His back was bent as he left the sorcerer tribe with a face full of sorrow. Someone had to pay the price for Grandpa Jun's sorrow. He blamed everything on Poison Valley. That was why he charged into Poison Valley alone and began his massacre. At the same time, news of Yun Luofeng's death spread throughout the continent, enraging all sides. Hong Wan was in the East Continent, and the West Continent College was in the West Continent. Both of them launched their attacks on the Poison Valley. Even though the Jun family of Ling Continent did not send their experts, the old master of the Jun family alone was enough to crush the Poison Valley. The Valley Master of Poison Valley was scared out of his wits. Who would have thought that an unknown person would attract the attention of all the powerhouses from all the continents? What angered him even more was that Xiang Fei, that bastard, had offended that woman named Yun Luofeng of all people. That was why the Valley Master retreated to God-Burying Mountain with a group of confidants in order to survive. If the most dangerous place in the Roaring Dragon mainland was the Forest of No Return, then God-Burying Mountain was the most dangerous place among the 7 continents. It was said that even deities would have a slim chance of survival if they entered God-Burying Mountain. The Valley Master would rather die in God-Burying Mountain than fall into the hands of the enemy. Moreover, he might be lucky enough to survive God-Burying Mountain. The actions of those from Poison Valley were very useful. When they saw that they had escaped to God-Burying Mountain, the other powerhouses stopped. However, everyone stood guard outside the mountain. If anyone from Poison Valley came out, they would kill them without hesitation. Just when everyone thought that no one except for those from Poison Valley dared to enter God-Burying Mountain, a handsome man in a black robe flew into God-Burying Mountain under everyone's watchful eyes. Aside from his handsome looks, the man's aura was even more imposing. Even those who got close to him could feel his cold aura. That was why no one dared to question him when he entered. It was only after he disappeared that everyone realized what was going on. Where did that man come from? I'm not sure, but his aura was too frightening. I felt cold all over when I was standing beside him, as if I could die at any moment. He could kill with his aura alone. Just how powerful was this man? Perhaps only the old senior of the Jun family would be able to stand against him, Zhongzhou state. In the old mansion, Grandpa Jun was crying like a child. His old face was covered in tears and his eyes were filled with grief. Mu Dong sighed. It's been 3 years. Even if she's dead, almost 3 years have passed. How long are you going to cry? The one who died wasn't your granddaughter? Of course you're not sad. Grandpa Jun sobbed nonstop. Those bastards from the Poison Valley, they actually dared to touch my granddaughter. If they fall into my hands, I'll make them suffer a fate worse than death. The corner of Mu Dong's mouth twitched. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he helplessly shut his mouth. Forget it, he couldn't provoke this old man any further, lest he rushed into God-Burying Mountain to settle the score with the people from the Poison Valley. After all, 3 years ago, the old man almost rushed in. If he hadn't arrived in time to stop the old man might have already been fed to the spiritual beasts in the hidden God Mountain. It's already been 3 years. Perhaps the people from the Poison Valley have already died on God-Burying Mountain. That place is so dangerous that even we don't dare to step foot there, let alone them. Chapter 1450. Mu Dong smiled bitterly. Besides, we didn't even see Yun Lass's corpse. How can you be so sure that she's dead? The people from the Witchcraft Valley said that it was the Poison Valley who killed my granddaughter. Grandpa Jun gritted his teeth. Moreover, they also sensed that there was a change in the illusion. My granddaughter is definitely not around. Back then, when he charged into the East Continent and learned from the East Continent's lord that Yun Luofeng was Jun Er's daughter, he was so excited that he could not wait to find her and hug her tightly. But fate made fools of people. He had not even had the chance to meet his granddaughter before he received such a grievous news. How could he not be sad? So what if it's been 3 years? He would never be able to walk out of this grief for the rest of his life. Jun Lingtian, aren't you going to tell the Jun family about your relationship with Yun Lass? Mu Dong asked with a frown. Grandpa Jun shook his head. It's enough for me to be sad alone. Why let others be sad with me? If Yun was still alive, I would definitely introduce her to the Jun family. But she's no longer here. If I tell them, wouldn't everyone be sad with me? Grandpa Jun continued to sob at this thought. His tears flowed like a river, causing Mu Dong's expression to become helpless. He had heard Grandpa Jun cry every day for 3 years. Who knew how much torture he had suffered? Wasn't this old man afraid that he would cry himself blind? But Mu Dong felt pity when he thought of the young girl who wrote down the answer that day. Because of the Poison Valley, the mainland had lost a peerless genius. They had to bear this responsibility. That's right, Jun Lingen. I heard that 3 years ago, there was a man who charged into God-Burying Mountain. That man should have a good relationship with Yun Lass, which is why he took such a risk. His goal was to kill the people of Poison Valley. Hearing this, Jun Lingtang glared at Mu Dong. If it wasn't for you, bastard, stopping me, I would have already rushed in. I won't be happy if I don't kill those people with my own hands. It's fine if you stopped me back then, but now you have to watch me every day? I only want to avenge my granddaughter. So what? Mu Dong was no match for Jun Lingtian in terms of medical skills. However, there was not much of a difference in their strength. So, all those years ago, for the sake of entering the Divine Vault Mountain, Jun Lingtian and Mu Dong stood there for an entire half a month before stopping. But from then on, Mu Dong stuck close to him, afraid that Qin Yu would take things too hard and rush into God-Burying Mountain again. That man is the Ghost Emperor. Grandpa Jun glanced at Mu Dong and sighed. I've also asked around. Yun had gone to participate in that examination to meet the Ghost Emperor. The two of them are husband and wife. At this point, Grandpa Jun looked at the blue sky in the distance and said faintly, this Ghost Emperor is a loyal and affectionate person. In order to avenge Yun, he dared to charge into the hidden God Mountain. However, he has already been there for 3 years. Whether he is dead or alive is still unknown. If this man is the Ghost Emperor, I believe that he is still alive. The Ghost Emperor was a new legend in the 7 continents. It was said that he was very young, possessed extraordinary strength, and was cruel and merciless. This kind of man, no matter what, will come back alive. Mu Dong, how long are you going to follow me? Grandpa Jun had just stood up when he realized that Mu Dong had also stood up. He roared angrily, his tear-stained face full of anger. Chapter 1451. I'll follow you until you give up on entering the hidden God Mountain. I don't mind fighting with you for another half a month. Hearing this, Grandpa Jun swung his sleeves angrily and left. When he thought of his pitiful granddaughter, his tears flowed once again. At the same times, in a dangerous mountain range on the central continent, Hong Wan's body was in the midst of a horde of spiritual beasts. Her eyes were filled with ferocity as her attacks mercilessly pierced through the chests of the spiritual beasts. Surrounded by so many spiritual beasts, Hong Wan suffered heavy injuries. Even so, she managed to hold on with her own willpower. Finally, the last spiritual beast fell. Hong Wan coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her beautiful features glowed with a pale light under the sunlight. Yun Luofeng, wait for me. She propped herself up and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. Her domineering eyes were filled with unswerving determination. Once I'm strong enough, I'll enter God-bearing Mountain and find those people from Poison Valley to take revenge for you. If they have already died in the buried God Mountain, I will whip their corpses for 100 days to relieve the hatred in my heart. The constant exhaustion caused her body to weaken and she almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, she managed to stab her sword into the ground and stabilized her body. Yun Luofeng, do you know that every time I charge into the most dangerous part of the mainland, I always feel a little afraid? But every time I think of you, I have the motivation to work harder. The Ghost Emperor told me that you're not dead. One day, you will appear before us. And before you return, he will deal with your enemies. So, he went to the hidden God Mountain. Now, can you show yourself and tell us that you're still alive? Tears streamed down Hong Luan's exquisitely beautiful face. Her eyes were filled with sorrow and pain. Every time she thought of the name Yun Luofeng, her heart would thump violently. The pain was so unbearable that it was unbearable. Yun Luofeng, I'll wait for you for a little longer. If you don't appear, I'll go to the buried God Mountain and find the people from the Poison Valley. If I'm unfortunate enough to die in the hidden God Mountain, I can go to the Nether Realm. When that time comes, we will be like before, side by side. Hong Luan's expression became resolute once again as she walked deeper into the mountain forest. For the past 3 years, the places she had been to were all dangerous places in the mainland. Only places like these could help her raise her strength. Fortunately, she was able to walk out of these dangerous places alive. At this moment, Yun Luofeng had just left the illusion, so he did not know what was happening on the mainland. More importantly, the illusion didn't send her to Sorcerer Mountain, but to the bottom of the mountain. Because of this, she had missed the opportunity to learn about what had happened on the mainland in the past 3 years. I've already disappeared for 3 years. Yun Xiao and Hong Luan must still be waiting for me. Let's go find them now. In the past, Yun Luofeng might have gone to Witch Mountain to say goodbye. But to her, saying goodbye was a waste of time. Yun Luofeng seemed to have suddenly thought of something and said, however, before I leave, I still have something to do. I'll wait for you here. Ji Zhoutian raised his phoenix eyes and glanced at Yun Luofeng as he spoke with his devilish voice. Yun Luofeng nodded lightly at him and walked towards a small house in the town. An old man was working outside the hut. When he saw Yun Luofeng walking towards him, he was stunned. Chapter 1452. Miss, it's you? The old man stood up and chuckled. That's right, not long ago, I saw Miss Ying. She seemed to have come back crying. What happened? This old man was the place where Yun Luofeng had stayed when he came to Sorcerer Mountain. It was also in this old man's house that he had met Huang Yingying. Huang Yingying came back crying? Yun Luofeng was stunned and frowned. Could it be that something had happened while he was away? I'm here to fulfill a promise? Promise? The old man was stunned and looked at Yun Luofeng in shock. I didn't pay you when I stayed here that day, Yun Luofeng's voice rang out. So, before I left, I promised to find someone to keep you company. The old man didn't understand what Yun Luofeng meant. Just as he was pondering, he saw a little lowly walk out from behind the young girl. This little lowly was very cute. She was about 6 or 7 years old and her delicate face was cold. Her eyes were empty and lifeless, like a puppet on strings. From now on, she belongs to you. The old man was dumbfounded. Just as he was about to ask more questions, he suddenly found that the young girl who had been standing in front of him had disappeared, leaving only this little lowly in front of him. Little girl, the old man was overjoyed, but he was more uneasy. If you're willing, you can stay here from now on. The little lowly didn't answer the old man's words. Her expression was still as cold as ever. You don't know how to speak? The old man suddenly realized, it's okay, it's enough as long as you keep me company. Just as the old man smiled and was about to let the little lowly enter the house, a few hooligans rushed over from behind. Old man, you've already owed a month's worth of protection fees. If you don't pay this month, I'll throw you to Sorcerer Mountain to feed the spiritual beasts. A large man fiercely stepped forward and stabbed the knife in his hand into the ground as he threatened in a cold voice. The old man was so frightened that his entire body trembled. "Can you owe it for another month?" The burly man sneered, his lustful eyes glancing at the little lowly beside the old man. "It's not impossible if you want to delay the payment for a month. How about using this little lass to pay off the debt?" Hearing that these people wanted to snatch the little lowly away, the old man's eyes immediately turned red. "No, this girl is my granddaughter. You can't take her away." "Granddaughter?" The burly man laughed and raised his hand to grab the little lowly. "Who doesn't know that you're a lonely old man? You don't even have a son and a granddaughter? I don't know where you abducted this girl from, but now leave her to me." Just as the burly man's hand was about to grab the little lowly, a small fist suddenly landed on his chest. In an instant, the little fist pierced a bloody hole through the burly man's chest. His eyes were wide open, and he fell straight to the ground, dying with everlasting regret. Little Lolita's expression was still as cold as ever. Her eyes were empty and lifeless as she coldly looked at the big man who had fallen in front of her. Although the puppets that Yun Luofeng had refined now had no flesh and blood, they would obey orders and protect their master until death. Everyone was scared silly, even the old man was dumbfounded. No one would have thought that this seemingly harmless little lass would have such a powerful strength. Only now did the old man understand what kind of treasure Yun Luofeng had given him. Chapter 1453. It's too much of a waste to give such a treasure to an old man like me. It's just a lodging fee, it doesn't need so much money. The old man sighed. He was very grateful in his heart. He knew how big of a favor he owed. "Where did you go?" Ji Zhoutian saw Yun Luofeng walking towards him from afar and raised his eyebrows. "Return the money." Yun Luofeng shrugged, her evil eyes landing on Ji Zhoutian's flirtatious face. "You're not going to leave?" Ji Zhoutian smiled seductively. "You don't want me to accompany you?" "I'm going to find my man. Do you want to follow me?" Ji Zhoutian's eyes immediately became full of resentment when he heard the girl's words. "Woman, you're burning bridges after crossing the river? If you want to follow me, I don't mind." Yun Luofeng smiled at the resentful Ji Zhoutian, a ray of light flashing across her dark eyes. Ji Zhoutian smiled evilly. "Forget it, I won't disturb you. Also, if you're in any danger, you can find me at the West Continent Academy. I won't be leaving the West Continent during this period." "All right." Yun Luofeng's teasing expression changed as she looked at Ji Zhoutian. "Thank you." Ji Zhoutian had helped her too many times. Even if he had helped her because of Zhu Qian, she still owed him many favors. After saying goodbye, the two went their separate ways. What Yun Luofeng didn't notice was that after Ji Zhoutian took a few steps, he turned around and watched her back until she disappeared from his line of sight. "Master, where are we going next?" Little Mo's voice came from within her soul. Yun Luofeng thought for a moment. "It's been 3 years. I don't know if Yun Xiao is still in the Withered Dragon Town. I'll go and take a look first. Also, I need to visit the Jun family in Ling Continent." Now that her strength had increased, it was time to find the Jun family and understand Jun Fengling's background. However, as she had been missing for 3 years, she did not know much about the situation on the mainland. Therefore, she randomly grabbed someone and asked, "Did anything happen on the continent during these 3 years?" That person was obviously startled by Yun Luofeng. When he turned his head, he saw a beautiful woman. He was in a good mood as he replied, "If we are talking about major events, then it would be the East Continent's Continent Lord Manor and the West Continent Academy joining forces to attack the Poison Valley." "Oh, right, I heard that the Jun family's old master Jun also went." 2 great forces joining forces to attack the Poison Valley? Could it be that the Poison Valley had done something infuriating while he was gone? At this time, Yun Luofeng did not link the situation in the Poison Valley to himself. After all, she had always believed that the members of Poison Valley were all dead, and she had also suffered some losses at the hands of Poison Valley. Why would the 2 great factions be so impulsive as to seek revenge from Poison Valley? Therefore, she pondered for a moment and asked, "Do you know the reason?" That young man was clearly startled. He said carefully, "It's best that you don't ask about this. No one is allowed to mention this situation on the mainland. Otherwise, if you accidentally offend the two great factions, you will definitely be in trouble." Everyone thought that Yun Luofeng was dead and was devastated. Because of this, no one dared to even discuss Yun Luofeng's name, afraid that they would offend him. The reason was, back then, someone was discussing Yun Luofeng's death and Hong Wan happened to see him. In a fit of rage, Hong Wan immediately beat up that person, almost beating him to death. She even gave an order that if she heard anyone discussing her friend's death again, she would not let that person off. Chapter 1454. Miss, I advise you not to ask. No one will answer your questions. The young man was afraid that Yun Luofeng would ask more questions, so he quickly waved his hand at her and left in a hurry. Yun Luofeng was shaken and her brows furrowed. She grabbed another person and asked the same question, but she received the same answer. This made her very confused. What on earth had happened for these people to keep their mouths shut? No matter what, when she meets Yun Xiao and Hong Wan, she will understand. Yun Luofeng did not stop at the thought of this. She quickly headed towards the direction of the dead dragon town. The shaman demon ancestor. The clan leader was lying sickly on the bed. His face was deathly pale and it was obvious that he was beyond cure. Just then, a guard hurriedly rushed in and reported, "Clan leader, something bad has happened. Something bad has happened." The two elders who were guarding the clan leader's side heard this and their faces sank. Their stern eyes swept towards the guard who was charging towards them. Their elderly faces were clearly filled with anger. "I have already given the order that no one is allowed to disturb us. Have you forgotten?" The more he spoke, the angrier he became. The clan leader was already so sick and these people still dared to disturb him. Thump. The guard hurriedly knelt on the ground and said in a trembling voice, "Clan leader, the illusion where the shaman demon's bone is stored has disappeared." "What? The illusion has disappeared? How is this possible? In this world, there are many people who steal treasures, but no one has ever heard that an illusion can be stolen. Hence, there was only one explanation: the illusion has disappeared." That's right. This illusion has not been stolen by anyone. Instead, it has disappeared from this world and will no longer exist. The elder's expression turned extremely ugly at the thought of this. He instinctively looked towards the middle-aged man who was lying on the bed and realized that the man had opened his tired eyes at some point in time. The illusion has really disappeared? The man's voice was filled with weakness and his breathing seemed like it would disappear at any moment. Reporting to the clan leader, "The illusion has really disappeared." The guard lowered his head and reported respectfully. The clan leader laughed bitterly. His laughter was filled with helplessness. 3 years ago, the people of the Poison Valley claimed that Yun Luofeng had died. In fact, in these 3 years, many people held great hope that she was still in the illusion and had not come out, but the clan leader closed his eyes and his pale face was filled with helplessness. But now, the illusory realm no longer exists. Miss Yun is definitely not in this world. Patriarch, should we let the saintess know about this? The elder pondered for a moment before asking. The patriarch shook his head and said, "I can't." 3 years ago, when the holy maiden heard the news of Yun Luofeng's death, she rushed back from outside. No one could stop her. In order to calm the holy maiden's emotions, I fabricated a lie, saying that Yun Luofeng didn't die and that he was only trapped in an illusion. If the holy maiden completed the inheritance, Yun Luofeng would be able to return. Because of this, the holy maiden went to receive the inheritance. Now that 3 years have passed, she has also reached a crucial moment. We absolutely cannot disturb her, otherwise, all our efforts will go to waste. Boom. In an instant, not far from Sorcerer Mountain, there was a thunderous sound. All the spiritual energy gathered in one place, forming a vortex in the sky. It was very spectacular. Chapter 1455. The Holy Lady has succeeded? The elder was overjoyed. Once the Holy Lady had completed the inheritance, it meant that the sorcerer demon tribe's survival was guaranteed. Cough cough. The tribe leader coughed dryly and tried to get up from the bed. Bring me to the back of the mountain. I want to see the holy lady. Tribe leader. The elder hurriedly went forward to support the tribe leader's weak body. Your body is too weak. You should rest here. I will go and see the holy lady. No. The tribe leader insisted on getting up. The holy lady has completed the inheritance. Her status is higher than mine. As her subordinate, I have to see the holy lady. Seeing that the tribe leader was determined, the elder did not say anything else. He sighed and helped the tribe leader out of the room. At this moment, the clan leader's body was swaying unsteadily, as if he could collapse at any moment. That once high-spirited and vigorous man had disappeared 3 years ago. At the back of the mountain, as the stone door opened, a beautiful girl in yellow walked out. She was no longer as young and lively as she had been 3 years ago. Her little face was cold and arrogant. Her body exuded a strong power, causing the sorcerer demon tribe members who had come to welcome her to kneel on the ground. "Welcome, Your Highness!" The crowd shouted in unison. Their voices pierced through the clouds and pierced through the void. It was deafening. "Please come." The girl waved her hand. The sorcerer demon tribe members who had been kneeling on the ground seemed to be forcefully pulled up by a force. Their eyes were filled with shock. The once weak girl had transformed into a butterfly after receiving the inheritance. She was incomparably powerful. "Holy Lady." The tribe leader walked over quickly with the help of the elders. His face was filled with relief. "Congratulations on successfully inheriting the Holy Lady's inheritance." The girl's eyes swept across the crowd and landed on the tribe leader. Her cold face finally lit up with a smile. "Tribe leader, can I go to the illusion and save Miss Yun?" Huang Yingying had been brought up well since she was young. She had always understood the meaning of gratitude. If it had not been for Yun Luofeng's help, she would not be where she was today. She would not have been able to take revenge. She would have died at Oya's hands. Therefore, she had never forgotten that it was Yun Luofeng who had given her the status she had today. This was why, after learning of Yun Luofeng's death, she was so heartbroken. She rushed back without caring about anything else and planned on getting even with the clan leader. Who knew that the clan leader would tell him that Yun Luofeng was not dead, she was merely unable to leave the illusion. As long as he succeeded in the inheritance, he would be able to release her. It was precisely because of this that she'd stayed in the back mountain for 3 years, and her objective was to obtain the inheritance. The patriarch's expression was a bit hesitant. In the end, he steeled his heart and said, "Your Highness Saintess, something big happened today. The illusion disappeared." "The illusion disappeared?" Huang Yingying's smile froze. "How could the illusion disappear? You're lying to me. Take me to the illusion now." "Saintess," the clan leader laughed bitterly. "What I said is true. The illusion has really disappeared. As for Yun Luofeng, it is unknown whether he is dead or alive." Up until now, the patriarch still hadn't said anything too definite, only using the words life or death is unknown. But, no matter how naive Huang Yingying was, she understood the meaning of these words at this time. If the illusion disappeared, how could Yun Luofeng still be alive? Huang Yingying's footsteps staggered and she stumbled back a few steps. Her face suddenly turned pale and as fragile as a piece of paper. Chapter 1456. Back then my family was killed by Oya. I suffered all kinds of hardships and no one ever cared about me or helped me. It was Yun Luofeng who appeared. Not only did he heal my injuries, he also gave me warmth. That was the only warmth I had ever had in my wandering years. If Yun Luofeng had only helped her, perhaps she would not have placed him in such an important position in her heart. But imagine, her parents had died and she did not have any relatives. She had suffered all kinds of humiliation and torture. Not only was her throat injured and her body covered in scars, she had to watch her enemies enjoy life and she was almost killed by them. At such a time, someone appeared and healed her, took her to take revenge, gave her the greatest warmth, protected her under her wings and did not give her enemies a chance to hurt her. If such a person really existed, Would you treat her as your most important family member? Now that your family member's fate is unknown, would you be devastated? Clearly, in Huang Yingying's heart, Yun Luofeng had become her only family member, Holy Lady. Everyone was shocked and hurried forward. However, they had only taken 2 steps when they were stopped by the girl's cold shout. All of you stop right there. Don't come any closer. Huang Yingying's voice trembled. She looked up at the feeble clan leader and gritted her teeth. Why did you lie to me? The clan leader did not know what to say, but he did not regret it. If Huang Yingying was not powerful enough, she would not even be able to protect herself, let alone help the sorcerer tribe. That was why he let her accept the inheritance first. Huang Yingying looked at the clan leader coldly. You clearly said that as long as I accept the inheritance, I will be able to open the illusion. Why did you lie to me? 3 years ago, the clan leader had thought of entering the illusion to investigate the situation. Unfortunately, when he tried to open the illusion again, he suddenly realized that it could not be activated. Therefore, he still held on to hope. Perhaps the Holy Lady could open the illusion. However, unexpectedly, the illusion disappeared before the Holy Lady's inheritance could be completed. Holy Lady, where are you going? Seeing that the Holy Lady was about to turn and leave, the clan leader's expression changed and he shouted anxiously. Huang Yingying stopped in her tracks and said without looking back, I am going to find Miss Hong Wan. As soon as she finished speaking, she walked down the mountain on her own. Saintess. The chief's face turned paler. He took 2 steps to catch up to Huang Yingying, but he suddenly felt powerless and fell to the ground. Lord Patriarch. All the elders turned pale with fright as they hurriedly supported the patriarch's body. They were so anxious that cold sweat flowed down their foreheads. Quick, help the patriarch down. The liches panicked. In the end, a group of people carried the chief's body towards the bedroom. I wonder how much longer the patriarch's body can last, one of the elders said helplessly, his eyes filled with worry. The holy maiden is really insensible. The chief is already so sick, but she still doesn't care. Another elder frowned, clearly very dissatisfied with Huang Yingying's behavior. Actually, you can't blame the holy maiden. Her parents were killed by the liches. Although the murderers were punished, if it were not for the liches, her parents would not have died. Therefore, she has no feelings for the liches. Now that this has happened, the elders sighed. If it were not for Yun Luofeng, perhaps the holy maiden would not have come to the liches. But Yun Luofeng had met with danger in the liches. How could she forgive them? Chapter 1457. The entire witch demon tribe was shrouded in gloom. The holy maiden's departure had plunged the originally cheerful witch demon tribe into panic and depression once again. Yun Luofeng summoned Cha-Cha and rode it to the withered dragon town. She found that the previously desolate withered dragon town was already inhabited. Unfortunately, the people she was looking for had already left. Looks like I'm a step too late. They've already left. Yun Luofeng looked at the empty house. It's easier to find Hong Wan. If I go to the East Continent, I can definitely find her whereabouts. But it won't be so easy to find Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao's whereabouts had always been unpredictable. It would be extremely difficult to find her. But the Middle Continent is between the East Continent and the Spirit State. If I want to go to the East Continent, it will take a lot of time. Why don't I go to the Jun family first? If fate allows it, we will naturally meet on the way. Yun Luofeng muttered to herself for a moment. She had already made up her mind. At this moment, she heard Xiao Shu's agitation in her soul. She frowned. Xiao Shu, you want to come out? Mother, I want to stay with you. Xiao Shu's voice was soft and squeaky. It was so adorable that she wanted to hug him and bite him. Yun Luofeng's heart softened when she heard this voice. With a thought, Xiao Shu appeared beside her. Mother, Xiao Shu pounced on Yun Luofeng. His 2 tender arms wrapped around Yun Luofeng's body. His adorable face broke into a bright smile. Boo-hoo! Cha-Cha rubbed its head against Yun Luofeng's leg. It looked at her pitifully, as if it was jealous of Xiao Shu. Hey! Xiao Shu placed his hands on his hips and glared at Cha-Cha angrily. Big guy, don't even think about snatching my mother away. You're so big. Mother doesn't like you. Compared to Xiao Shu 3 years ago, he had become more articulate. He was only about 4 years old, but he looked like a 7 or 8-year-old adult. His chubby little face had also become more exquisite. His eyebrows and eyes were very similar to Yun Zhao's. Cha-Cha pondered for a moment. Suddenly, his body was shrouded in light. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a small Meng Quan the size of a palm. He stared at Yun Luofeng with teary eyes. Xiao Shu, who had wanted to chase Cha-Cha into the divine grimoire space, saw that the big guy had become so adorable. Xiao Shu, who had wanted to chase Cha-Cha into the grimoire's eyes lit. After saying that, Xiao Shu pounced on Cha-Cha and grabbed it in his hands. His little hands then ravaged the little fellow in his palms. Xiao Shu, why are those people looking at us? Xiao Shu noticed that the pedestrians on the street were looking at them. His cute little face wrinkled as he asked in confusion. Chen Xiao Shu, Xiao Shu Cha. Yun Luofeng raised his hand and pinched the little tree's smooth face as he said with a smile. The small tree blinked. Why did he feel that those people were looking at the puppet man behind his mother? Yun Xiao Yun had Shu have had the puppet. Because Yun Luofeng Cha when he had brought. However, the clever Xiao Shu did not ask these questions. He took 2 steps forward and held Yun Luofeng's hand. A bright smile appeared on his face. Mother, when are we going to find father? Let's go to Ling Continent first. I want to verify something. On the way there, we can ask around about your father. Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and sighed in his heart. Chapter 1458. She had finally left the illusion with much difficulty, but she could not find Yun Zhao's whereabouts once again. Unfortunately, she did not know what had happened on the mainland to make these people so silent. If the illusion had sent Yun Luofeng to the Sorcerer Demon Mountain, perhaps she would have asked the tribe leader. Who would have thought that she would be sent directly to the foot of the mountain? Yun Luofeng, who was in a hurry to see Yun Xiao, did not want to waste so much time going up the mountain. Have you heard? It is said that the shaman demon tribe leader is about to die. At that moment, Yun Luofeng heard 2 voices talking, which made her stop in her tracks. The shaman demon tribe leader? This matter is no longer a secret in the 7 continents. The shaman demon tribe is very powerful. I don't know who plotted against the shaman demon tribe leader. I know a little about this matter. It is said that a traitor appeared in the shaman demon tribe and poisoned the main parasite in the shaman demon tribe leader's body, causing the main parasite to bite back and injure the shaman demon tribe leader. Yun Luofeng frowned. She had been wondering why the shaman demon tribe would join forces with the Poison Valley. It turned out that it was because they had betrayed the shaman demon tribe. Just as Yun Luofeng walked out of her thoughts, she saw a well-built burly man rushing towards her. This burly man did not look in front of him as he walked. Instead, he looked around randomly. Especially when he walked very quickly, he did not stop even when he reached Yun Luofeng. Hence, Yun Luofeng dodged to the side and avoided the burly man. However, there was a brick on the ground behind Yun Luofeng. Moreover, the burly man did not look under his feet as he walked. With a loud bang, he kicked it. Then, a wail like that of a pig being slaughtered resounded through the sky. The burly man clutched his toes tightly as he glared angrily at Yun Luofeng. Damned girl, how dare you plot against me? Yun Luofeng did not look at the burly man. She walked forward on her own, as if the person behind her did not exist. Stop right there. The burly man was anxious. He raised his hand to grab Yun Luofeng's shoulder. Before his hand could reach Yun Luofeng, a thick and strong hand gripped his wrist tightly. It was so painful that he cried out once again. The puppet man looked at the burly man coldly. He exerted a lot of strength in his grip, to the point where the sound of bones cracking could be heard. You are a big man. How dare you blame others when you walk without looking where you are going? The small tree made a face at the big man and said sarcastically. The big man still stubbornly said, if it wasn't for this brat, I wouldn't have kicked the brick. At most, I would have hit her. So, this is all her fault. Yun Luofeng stopped in his tracks and turned to look at the big man. You mean I should just stand there and let you hit me? The burly man gritted his teeth. Even if I hit you, you won't lose a piece of flesh. It's better than me kicking your toes. I'm sorry. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. Coming at me, being touched by you is an insult to me. The burly man was used to being domineering here. Even though he was caught by the puppet man, his attitude was still unyielding. But this time, the puppet man did not give him a chance to speak. He gripped his wrist so tightly that his bones were almost crushed. Instantly, the intense pain caused the burly man to be unable to say another word. Yun-E was the puppet man's name. When it heard this name, the puppet man stopped moving. But when the burly man saw its cold gaze, his entire body trembled. Then Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards the burly man. He took out a pill from somewhere and forcefully stuffed it into the burly man's mouth. Chapter 1459. The burly man coughed dryly and tried to spit out the pill. Unfortunately, the pill melted in his mouth and had already entered his lungs. What did you feed me? The burly man's eyes widened as he shouted angrily. Poison. The young girl's smile was evil, but her voice was bone-chilling. The burly man's eyes were filled with terror. He finally understood what kind of existence he had provoked. I only asked you a few questions and you want to kill me? Yun Luofeng shook her head. If I wanted to kill you, I would have done so a long time ago. I fed you poison because I need your help with something. The burly man was so terrified that he could not speak. He could only tremble uncontrollably. Yun Luofeng took out a purple medicinal herb from her space ring and placed it in front of the burly man. Take this herb to the shaman demon tribe and hand it over to the tribe leader. When the time comes, the shaman demon tribe will cure you. Yun Luofeng seemed to see the burly man staring at the detoxifying herb and sneered. This detoxifying herb is not effective against all poisons. The poison I fed you can only be sucked out by the shaman demon tribe's goo. If you use any other method, you will die without a doubt. The burly man's body trembled again as he reached out with a trembling hand to take the detoxifying herb. He had always been afraid of death and naturally did not dare to try any other detoxifying method. Let's go. Yun Luofeng did not look at the burly man again as she turned and walked towards the end of the street. Xiao Shu followed obediently by her side and held her hand, a bright smile on its exquisite little face. Cha-Cha lay on Xiao Shu's head, its ears drooping as it glanced pitifully at Yun Luofeng from time to time. Sob. It did not want to follow Xiao Shu, but Xiao Shu had already occupied it and would not let it jump into its master's arms. That's right, mother. The little tree seemed to have thought of something. It stretched out its little hand to scratch its buttocks, then took out a fruit from its chrysanthemum flower and handed it to Yun Luofeng. This is my new transformation fruit, give it to Meng Meng to eat. All of the beasts had already reached the level where they could transform into humans. Unfortunately, the man transformation fruit took too long to bear. As such, there was only one. Therefore, this man transformation fruit naturally belonged to Meng Meng. Yun Luofeng looked at the man transformation fruit that the small tree took out from the chrysanthemum, and his face darkened. Go give it to Meng Meng yourself. The little tree didn't know that Yun Luofeng was looking down on the man transformation fruit. His face was full of smiles. Okay, I'll go to the Divine Grimoire space later and give it to Meng Meng. Xiao Shu. A light flashed across Yun Luofeng's eyes. How can you bear the man transformation fruit faster? This? The small tree fell silent. It tilted its head and said, give me some elixirs that are stronger and more effective. Not only can I bear the human transformation fruit, but I can also bear other fruits. It wouldn't be as slow as it is now. Elixir? Yun Luofeng suddenly felt that his need for elixirs would never end. Ling continent. Jun family. The Jun family's lord sat in his study with a worried frown on his face. The door of the study was pushed open. Seeing the lovely girl walking into the room, his expression relaxed a little. Ling, why are you here? Did you find your grandpa? Ling naturally knew where his grandfather was. However, he would never tell anyone. This was what he had promised his grandfather. Therefore, Ling lied through her teeth. I don't know. Grandpa won't tell me. Chapter 1460. I don't know what happened to your grandfather. 3 years ago, he suddenly charged into the Poison Valley and killed many of their people. Master June shook his head and smiled bitterly. How do you think the Poison Valley provoked your grandfather? The Poison Valley is a force of the Middle Continent. A few years ago, the Lord of the Middle Continent came to me and asked for an explanation from the old master. Ling blinked. Back then, grandfather took a fancy to a genius. He had just recognized that genius as his granddaughter when that genius was killed by the people of the Poison Valley. Grandfather was so angry that he went to the Poison Valley to settle the score. He went to look for the Poison Valley to settle the score, but left behind a huge mess for me to clean up. The June family already has many enemies, and now we've provoked so many more. June family head rubbed his forehead, feeling a headache coming on. This master of mine is really unhappy every day. He doesn't find trouble for me. Now that the June family is surrounded by enemies, I don't even know where he's going to run off to. If he could, Master June really wanted to throw away this mess. Whoever wanted to be the head of the family could do it. But his master only had this one disciple. If he didn't support the June family, would he really hand the June family over to outsiders? Not to mention the old master, even he couldn't bear to do it. Ling, it would be great if your aunt was here. She is master's biological daughter. It's only natural for her to inherit the June family. At that time, I could travel with your mother and not have to care about this mess. Master June had a stomach full of complaints about the old master's abandonment of the June family, but he couldn't do anything about it. If you can find your grandfather, remember to tell him that all the enemies of the June family are getting restless because of his absence from the June family. They plan to destroy the June family. If that moment really comes, tell the old master to come back. Father, don't worry. Grandfather knows what he's doing. If the June family is really in danger, he will definitely come back. Ling said with a smile. After all, the June family was the old master's blood and sweat. He couldn't possibly abandon the June family. Go and play with your friends first. Let me be alone for a while. The June family's lord rubbed his temples. He couldn't help but sigh as he thought about the news that the spies had sent over. For so many years, old Master June had been wandering outside and had never returned home, causing the enemies of the June family to think that old Master June was already dead. If not for old Master June's sudden revolt against the Poison Valley 3 years ago, everyone would have thought that he was already dead. Even so, after 3 years, those powers couldn't restrain themselves from stirring restlessly, making it impossible for anyone to resist them. Patriarch, something bad has happened. Suddenly, an anxious voice sounded from outside the study. Soon after, a person rushed in. Because he was too anxious, he almost stumbled and fell to the ground. The lord of the June family frowned and asked in a deep voice, "What happened?" "Clan head, something has happened. I don't know who spread the news, but it is said that the old clan head has a long-lost granddaughter, and she is in the 7 continents. What?" The head of the June family slammed the table and stood up. His face was gloomy. Where did this news come from? It was spread by the June family. The June family's lord clenched his fists tightly. So, there were spies from other powers in the June family? And they even found out about this news? Go find out. I want to know who spread the news immediately. If he found out, he would make that person's life a living hell. Chapter 1461. Yes, master. The guard took his leave. After the guard left, Master June sat on the ground, looking dispirited. I didn't expect that this news would eventually get out. If those people find my niece first, they will certainly capture her and use her to threaten the June family. If that happens, old man June will certainly go crazy. So, he had to find his niece before those people did. June family head clenched his fists tightly as he thought of this. He had made a firm resolution in his heart. Ling Continent. In a small city not far from the border, it was more lively than usual. A woman was hurrying along. Suddenly, A soft voice came from in front of her. Auntie, can I ask why there are so many people in such a desolate city? The woman was stunned for a moment. When she lowered her head, a small face that looked like it was carved from jade was imprinted in her eyes. She didn't want to answer the question, but she couldn't reject such a cute little boy. Little fellow, why are you here alone? Where are your parents? My parents aren't here. I'm just curious as to why there are so many people here. Did something happen? The little boy blinked and asked with a smile. As the saying goes, there must be something wrong with everything. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be too many pedestrians in a small city at the border. But now, this small city was full of people. Even finding a place to stay took them a long time to find. In addition, these people were all very powerful, so they must have come for some purpose. Perhaps, there were precious herbs. Thinking about his food, the little tree decided to find out what was going on. Little fella, we're here mainly for the miracles in Mount AI. Mount AI? Miracle? There were gods in the 7 continents? It's best that you don't know about these things. After all, Mount AI is very dangerous. You should go back to your parents. The woman smiled at the little boy. After saying that, she left in a hurry. The little boy looked in the direction that the woman left. After a moment of silence, he walked towards the inn. At the inn, Yun Luofeng was sitting at the table, sipping his tea. Cha-Cha lay on the ground obediently. From time to time, it would raise its eyes and look at the door warily, afraid that some evil person would rush in and hurt Yun Luofeng. The door was pushed open by a small hand, and a jade-like face appeared before Yun Luofeng's eyes. Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow. Where did he go? Mother. Xiao Shu walked to Yun Luofeng's side. I found it strange just now. Why would there be so many powerful cultivators in such a rundown place? So I went out to ask around. I heard that a miracle had appeared on a nearby mountain range. A miracle? Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed with an imperceptible light. Xiao Shu hooked his arm around Yun Luofeng's neck. Mother, aren't you looking for Father, Auntie Hong Luan, and Xiao Bai? Maybe they'll be curious about this miracle and go to Mount AI. Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment. Okay, then let's go take a look at this miracle. Perhaps little Mo was right. If Yun Xiao and the others had gone to the miracle, then she would be able to find them. Grit. Smack. Xiao Shu kissed Yun Luofeng's face. Mother, if there are herbs in this miracle, you must snatch them all for me to use as food. Otherwise, I won't be able to produce the man transformation fruit. Chapter 1462. The corners of Yun Luofeng's eyebrows twitched. The reason why the little tree wanted her to go to the miraculous site was simple. She was hungry. Now, ordinary medicinal herbs that evolved from medicinal herbs could no longer satisfy his requirements. The herbs he needed must be at least 1,000 years old. Without a fortuitous encounter, it would be very difficult to find such an old medicinal herb. The next day, Yun Luofeng brought the small tree to Mount AI. Fortunately, Mount AI was very close to the inn she was staying at. It would only take half an hour to get there. Now, Mount AI was filled with people. Apart from those who had formed alliances, there were also other experts who were free. Just like the woman that Xiao Shu tried to hit on yesterday, it's you? The woman turned around and saw Xiao Shu walking into the mountain. A smile appeared on her face as she slowly walked over. Auntie, thank you so much for yesterday, said the small tree politely. The woman smiled and looked up at Yun Luofeng. Is this your mother? From the beginning, TT's gaze was fixed on the woman, its eyes filled with vigilance. However, when it sensed that the woman did not have any ill intentions, it relaxed and lay down on the head of the small tree. Hello. After seeing the small tree nod, the woman extended her hand towards Yun Luofeng. My name is Yen Ku. How should I address you? Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng slowly said his name. Ahem. When the young man beside Yen Ku heard Yun Luofeng's name, he could not help but cough dryly. There was a strange look in his eyes. Yun Luofeng's perception was very sensitive, so he naturally felt the strangeness of these people. He unconsciously frowned. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with my name? The woman smiled gently. Lady Yun, perhaps your name is just a coincidence, but I still want to remind you, don't ever say that your name is Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng's eyes were filled with confusion. He clearly did not understand what was going on. Yen Ku carefully scanned her surroundings. When she saw that no one was looking in their direction, she then said, because the 3 words Yun Luofeng are currently a taboo in the 7 continents. It is said that if you say these 3 words and the East Continent's Continent Lord Mansion's Lady Hong Wan hears it, she will beat you half to death. Yun Luofeng was stunned. Hong Wan? What did this have to do with Hong Wan? I was in closed-door cultivation for 3 years. I don't know what happened. Why did the mention of this name cause Hong Wan to be angry? Yen Ku glanced at Yun Luofeng in astonishment. No wonder he didn't know that these 3 words were taboo. So it was because he was in closed-door cultivation. It's like this. In the end, Yen Ku decided to take a risk and tell Yun Luofeng about this name. 3 years ago, the people of the Poison Valley killed a woman named Yun Luofeng. Who knew that this Yun Luofeng had connections with various forces. First, it was the Jun family's old Master Jun. Then, the Eastern Continent's Continent Lord Manor and the Western Continent Academy attacked the Poison Valley together. Originally, this matter was only related to the Poison Valley and would not implicate anyone else. However, Hong Wan's temper is rather violent. Once, she passed by a restaurant and heard someone mention Yun Luofeng's name. She immediately went up and beat that person up, almost beating him to death. Yun Luofeng was completely stupefied. He had been killed by someone from the Poison Valley? When did this happen? Moreover, even though Hong Luan's personality was overbearing, she would not be rude. It was likely that those people who were talking about her had said something, or perhaps they were gloating over her misfortune, which made Hong Luan so angry. However, as the rumors continued to spread, the situation naturally changed. Chapter 1463. Miss Yun, I've already told you the reason. Don't ever say those 3 words again. Otherwise, if Hong Luan hears about it, she will definitely cause trouble for you. Yen Ku spoke carefully, afraid that her words would be overheard by others. I understand. She finally understood why the 2 great forces had attacked the Poison Valley. It was all because of her. Actually, the Poison Valley was not wronged. If Ji Jotin had not been by her side, perhaps she would have fallen into the Poison Valley's hands. However, when these words fell into Yen Ku's ears, she thought that Yun Luofeng had listened to her and subconsciously heaved a sigh of relief. Auntie, Xiao Shu smiled at Yen Ku. When can we go up the mountain? The people beside Yen Ku were stunned when they heard this. Was this little fellow planning to stick to their group? After all, Mount Ai was filled with danger. Bringing along a weak woman and a child would obviously be a huge burden on them. As for the strong puppet following behind Yun Luofeng, even though it looked rough and tough, they could not sense its true strength. However, before anyone could object, Yen Ku was melted by Xiao Shu's words. How could she refuse any of his requests? We can go up the mountain anytime. Little fellow, are you and your mother willing to travel with us? Xiao Shu's smile grew even more radiant. Thank you, Auntie. After all, he and Yun Luofeng had just arrived and were not familiar with the situation. If they followed these people, they would definitely be able to avoid many detours. This was Xiao Shu's goal. Junior sister. The expression of the youth in embroidered robes changed greatly and he frowned. It would be fine if these 2 were quite powerful. However, one of them is a child and the other has no spiritual power. Aren't we just asking for trouble by bringing them along? Senior brother, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Don't worry. Yen Ku frowned. Moreover, we're here to broaden our horizons. We're not really here for the treasures in the divine ruin. Seeing that Yen Ku was determined, the youth in embroidered robes did not say anything else. He sighed softly and his expression was full of helplessness. Little fellow, I haven't asked for your name. Yen Ku really liked children. Otherwise, she would not have been willing to bring Yun Luofeng and Xiao Shu along. Xiao Shu blinked. My name is Yun Shu. Yun Shu? Yen Ku was stunned. Someone would come up with such a name? This name did not match the little fellow's delicate features at all. Let's go. Yenku did not think too much about it and returned to her senses. There are already many people on the mountain. If we don't hurry over, the treasure might fall into the hands of others. Although Mount Ai was not as dangerous as other places, there were countless traps. Furthermore, there were many people who had come this time. Moreover, there were many people who had come. Along the way, Yun Luofeng found out that the young man in embroidered robes was called Fu Jin. He and Yen were fellow disciples of the same sect. However, they had left the sect a long time ago to wander the continent alone. In the team, there was another strong man, Zhao Hong. Apart from him, there was also a handsome young man. Although his strength was very weak, he was the only doctor in the team of 4. Chapter 1464. These two people were friends that Yenku and her senior brother had met on the road. After they had a mutual understanding of each other, they had decided to travel together and explore the dangerous places of the mainland together. It's getting late. Should we rest first and set off tomorrow? The delicate-looking youth looked at the dark sky, then turned to look at Yenku and the others and suggested. Qishao is right. Mount Ai is very dangerous at night. Let's stop for the night and continue tomorrow. Yenku nodded, agreeing with the handsome youth's suggestion. At this time, there were already many forces setting up tents on Mount Ai. After Qishao set up his tent, he saw Yun Luofeng sitting under an old tree with her eyes closed. He was stunned and said, Miss Yun, did you not bring a tent? Why don't you and Yenku squeeze in? No need. Yun Luofeng shook her head and said in a light tone, I don't need a tent. Seeing that Qishao wanted to say something, Fu Jin walked to his side. Since they don't want to accept help, you and Yenku don't need to care about them. They can do whatever they want. What does it have to do with us? Finally, Qishao sighed and walked back to his own tent. The nights on Mount Ai were very long. To the current Yun Luofeng, her mind was filled with the figure of the man who was as cold as a hawk. But she didn't know when she would see him again. Yunshao, where are you? How did you survive these 3 years that I wasn't here? She could imagine the man's madness when he heard that she had died in the hands of the Lich clan. So, she couldn't imagine how Yunshao had survived these 3 years, mother. The little tree seemed to feel Yun Luofeng's sorrow. He climbed onto her body and revealed 2 cute little canine teeth. His little palm patted her head like a little adult. Don't worry, father will definitely come find you. Yun Luofeng's heart suddenly moved. Indeed, if she went to find Yunshao, it would be like finding a needle in a haystack. If she spread the news that she was still alive, those people would definitely come find her after hearing it. Thank you, little tree. Yun Luofeng smiled. Her smile was very beautiful, so beautiful that even the moonlight in the night sky couldn't compare. The sky began to brighten. Yun Luofeng, who was meditating, suddenly heard a commotion in front of her. She slowly opened her eyes, and a cold light flashed in them. Junior sister Yenku, junior brother Fu Jin, long time no see. I didn't expect to see you here. When Yun Luofeng raised his head, he saw a handsome man standing in front of Yenku and the others, speaking in an arrogant voice. Yenku's face was ashen. She clenched her fists tightly and glared angrily at the handsome man in front of her. Fu Jin and I have already left the sect. What else do you want? Tisk, just saying that you're leaving the sect can erase the mistakes you made in the sect. The handsome man's lips curled into a smile. His eyes were filled with disdain as he stared down at the people standing in front of him in a domineering manner. If it wasn't for your master pleading on your behalf, perhaps you would have been punished to death by my father. Bang. Yenku couldn't control her temper in the end. She punched the handsome man in the face, her eyes flashing with anger. You still dare to say that? Back then, you were delusional enough to humiliate my sister. I was the one who hit you to avenge my sister. Who knew that you couldn't tell right from wrong and actually wanted to kill me because of this? Chapter 1465. Yen Kun gnashed her teeth in hatred at the thought of what had happened in the past. She wished for nothing more than to tear the man before her into 1,000,000 pieces. Stinking whore, how dare you fucking hit me? The handsome man's face was filled with rage as he shouted, "Men, capture this stinking whore. I want to take her back and punish her properly." Hearing this, the two elders behind the man stepped forward and attacked Yen Ku. The expressions of Fu Jin and the others changed drastically. They hurriedly tried to stop these people, but they were still a step too late. By the time they arrived in front of Yen Ku, the two old men had already successfully captured her. "Su Luchen, you son of a bitch. I Yen Ku would rather die than fall into your hands." Yen Ku raised her hand and slapped it fiercely towards her head as soon as she finished speaking. "Junior sister, no." Fu Jin was so frightened that his legs turned to jelly and he cried out anxiously. Yen Ku's hand had almost landed on her head when it was grabbed tightly by an old hand. "The young master has ordered that you must be punished by her. You are not allowed to harm yourself." The old man's voice was very indifferent as he stared at Yen Ku expressionlessly. Su Luochen scoffed coldly as he looked down at Fu Jin and the others from above. "These people are related to Yen Ku. Capture them and don't let a single one of them off." Fu Jin clenched his fists tightly. At this moment he felt so powerless. They had already left the sect, but Su Luochen still had no intention of letting them off. At this moment, a soft voice rang out and fell into everyone's ears. "Uncle, you can't be too shameless. If you're this shameless, you'll probably incur the wrath of the heavens." A young boy dressed in embroidered robes had unknowingly appeared next to Fu Jin and the others. His jade-like face was filled with a radiant smile. His eyes were as beautiful as the stars as he stared unblinkingly at Su Luchen. "Is this kid one of yours?" Su Luchen did not take Xiao Shu seriously and scoffed coldly as he asked. "No." Fu Jin's face turned even paler as he glared fiercely at Xiao Shu. "Get the hell out of here. Hurry up and leave." He raised his head and looked at Su Luochen once again after he had spoken. "We don't know him." In the beginning, Fu Jin looked down on Yun Luofeng. Even though Yun Luofeng had a tall and mighty guard behind him, they couldn't sense any spirit energy fluctuations from his body. Therefore, he was very dissatisfied with Yun Luofeng's participation. But this does not mean that he is a bad person. Yun Luofeng and the small tree were innocent. Since they were destined to fall into the hands of these people, why should they drag them down? "Young master," someone whispered in Su Luochen's ear, "I've just asked around. This kid is in cahoots with them. Yen Ku is such a despicable woman, we can't let any of the people around her go." Yen Ku's body stiffened, and her face was full of regret. If she had known that she would meet Su Luochen here, she would never have agreed to bring the tree along. "Men, arrest them all." Su Luochen waved his hand and ordered coldly. In an instant, the two old men extended their hands in an attempt to grab the small tree. However, before the pair of withered old hands could touch the small tree, they were firmly grabbed by a rough and powerful arm. Everyone was stunned. He couldn't figure out who would be so bold as to go against the profound Azure sect. Chapter 1466. Just as the crowd was in a state of confusion, a cold voice slowly rang out, carrying with it a strong murderous intent. Yun-Yi, cripple his hand. Crack. Yun-Yi suddenly exerted force. Instantly, an anguished wail rang through the sky and pierced through the clouds. Bang. Then, Yun-Yi violently flung his hand away. The elder stumbled a few steps back. His face was pale from the pain and his forehead was drenched in cold sweat. He glared viciously at Yun Luofeng, who had given the order. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on Yun Luofeng. The morning light poured down and shone on the young girl's pure white robes. The young girl walked towards the sunlight. She was as beautiful as a celestial being from a painting. It was so unreal. Su Luochen was a little dazed. He had never seen a woman with such a devastatingly beautiful appearance. Even the number one beauty of the Xianqing school was not even 1/10 as beautiful as she was. What happened? Suddenly, a cold voice rang out from behind him, bringing Su Luochen back to his senses from his shock. Before he could say anything, he saw a white shadow suddenly float past, rushing towards Yun Luofeng in front of him. Yun Luofeng, who had no smile on his face, looked at the white shadow rushing towards him. The corners of his lips curled into an angle and his evil eyes were filled with a smile. Bang! The white shadow did not hesitate and slammed into Yun Luofeng. Her two arms hugged him tightly, and when she lifted her head, her cute little face was covered in tears. "Master, I finally get to see you again." Sob sob. The young girl cried miserably. She crawled onto Yun Luofeng's body, afraid that if she let go, the person in front of her would abandon her and leave on his own. He had been gone for 3 years. Xiao Bai, looking at the pitiful little face in front of him, Yun Luofeng chuckled and asked, "Why are you alone? Where are Hu Li and Wu?" Back then, when she went to the Withered Dragon Town to look for Yun Xiao, she left Little White and the others at their original place. Now, she only saw Little White. Hu Li and Wu Du were not by her side. Lin Ruabai wiped away his tears. "Hu Li thought that you were dead, so he sent me back to his hometown and entrusted me to his father to take care of. Then, he said that he wanted to see you if you were alive, and if you were dead, he wanted to see your corpse. Then he left with Wu. I didn't want to stay there and wait, so I took advantage of Hu Li's father not noticing and ran out." Thinking of the news from 3 years ago, Lin Ruabai's expression became even sadder. "Master, where have you been all these years? Why didn't you come back to see us?" To Little White, who had lost all her memories, Yun Luofeng was her only family. He was also the only person she could rely on in this world. Su Luochen was dumbfounded. "Miss Lin knew these people? This second brother, what happened?" The cold voice from before sounded again. This time, Yun Luofeng looked at the newcomer. The person who slowly walked over was a handsome man. His facial features were very similar to Su Luochen's. It was not difficult to guess that they had been together for 2 years. However, thinking that this man had come together with Lin Ruabai, Yun Luofeng's expression tightened. A cold light flashed across his eyes, carrying with it a chilly and austere aura. "Big brother, this woman's bodyguard injured 5th Elder Zhang." Su Luochen had already regained his senses and said through gritted teeth. Su Jun frowned and shot a cold gaze at Yun Luofeng. He said coldly, "Miss, you injured someone from my profound Azure sect. Don't you owe me an explanation?" Chapter 1467. Explanation? Yun Luofeng laughed coldly. "These people wanted to kidnap my son. I only crippled one of his arms. That's already being merciful." Su Jun's expression was ugly. In all these years, he had never met anyone who didn't respect the Xianqing sect. In the entire Ling continent, only the Jun family could instill fear in the Xianqing sect. Could it be that this woman thought she was from the Jun family? What a joke. "Miss, for Miss Xiaobai's sake, I don't want to be calculative with you. I hope you can apologize to my men." Su Jun's voice was cold as he spoke. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Xiaobai. His eyes seemed to be asking her what relationship she had with these people. "Master, a year ago, I was in danger. These people passed by and saved me. That's what I'm with them." Lin Ruabai blinked her eyes and replied honestly. But Lin Ruabai was very unhappy with Su Jun's demand for Yun Luofeng to apologize. Although Su Jun had helped her and taken care of her for a year, her master was definitely not in the wrong. Even if he was wrong, he was still right. No one could bully her master. Yun Luofeng got the answer he wanted and turned to Su Jun. "For the sake of you saving Xiaobai, I'll let you live. If there's a next time, the Xianqing sect will be destroyed." Scram. As soon as Yun Luofeng finished speaking, the puppet stood in front of her like a huge mountain. It stared coldly at Su Jun and the others. "Big brother?" Su Luochen panicked. "This woman is too much. We should tie her up and throw her into the black pond to feed the snakes." Su Jun didn't say anything. He stared coldly at Yun Luofeng. "Miss, I hope you remember what you said today. I'll make you regret it. Let's go." With that, Su Jun looked at Lin Ruabai meaningfully. He brushed his sleeves and turned to leave with the Xianqing sect people. When they were out of sight of Yun Luofeng and the others, Su Luochen said unhappily, "Big brother, why didn't you kill them? And that bitch, Yen Ke. I can't rest easy letting her live in this world." Su Jun stopped and looked at Su Luochen coldly. "Back then, Yen Ke attacked you out of anger because you humiliated her younger sister. However, our profound Azure sect has always been protective of our own, so we pushed the blame onto Yen Ke. However, you know better than anyone else what actually happened." Su Luochen didn't say anything, but in his heart, he didn't agree. As a young master of the Xianqing sect, it was Yen Ke's good fortune that he had taken a liking to her sister. Why shouldn't he accept his charity? "There's no need to think too much about what happened today. You were definitely the one who provoked me first," Su Jun said in a deep voice. "Big brother, I didn't expect that woman to be Lin Ruobai's master." "That's right, didn't father tell you that you must win Lin Ruobai's heart? Will your actions have any impact?" Su Luochen's eyes were filled with worry. If he neglected the task his father had given him because of this, then his father would never forgive him. "I've been with Xiaobai for a year. I believe that she has completely fallen in love with me." A strange light flashed across Su Jun's eyes. "Second brother, you have to be clear about one thing. Once a woman falls in love, she will listen to a man's every word. Between her master and me, who do you think she will choose?" Chapter 1468. Of the two brothers of the Xianqing sect, Su Luochen was arrogant and liked to stir up trouble. He was a complete debauchee, while Su Jun was more arrogant and had a good sense of himself. Lin Ruobai had been by his side for the past year, which made him even more certain that he was in love with her. Even this time, it was Lin Ruobai who insisted on going out with him. If she hadn't fallen in love with him, how could she have become so clingy? The arrogant Su Jun didn't know that Lin Ruobai had a playful nature. How could she stay in a boring place like the Xianqing sect? If she had the chance to go out, she wouldn't give it up. But Su Luochen glanced at Su Jun. "I saw that Lin Ruobai and her master are very close today. Would she be willing to betray her master for the sake of the Xianqing sect?" Su Jun smiled confidently. "They haven't seen each other for a long time, so they must be very close. I'll let them be for a few days. After a few days, Xiaobai will return to my side. When that time comes, she will cry tears of joy if I promise to marry her." Su Luochen hesitated for a moment before asking, "Big brother, are you sure that Miss Lin will marry you? If she doesn't marry me, who else will she marry? I can feel Xiaobai's affection for me this past year. If it wasn't for him loving me more, I wouldn't have refused to accept him." Su Jun's voice was brimming with confidence. He was certain that Lin Ruobai would be his woman. Even though Lin Ruobai had never confessed to him, he firmly believed in his heart that this girl must have loved him so much that she couldn't help herself. "Big brother, I only know that father told you to please Miss Lin, but what is her background?" Su Luochen frowned and asked the question that had been bothering him all this time. Su Jun glanced at his brother and said in an indifferent tone, "Lin Ruobai seems to be from that place. If we can marry her, then our Xianqing sect's status will also rise. We might even surpass the Jun family." "Someone from that place?" Su Luochen's eyes widened in shock. No wonder his snobbish father told his big brother to please Lin Ruobai. It turned out that Lin Ruobai was from that place. On the mountain range, Yen Ku and the others all stared at Yun Luofeng in shock, as if they hadn't expected the guard beside her to be so powerful. Fu Jin was a little ashamed. He walked forward and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Miss Yun. I shouldn't have underestimated you. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been able to escape death." Yun Luofeng's black eyes were dark and bright. His voice was cold and evil. "Can I borrow your tent?" Hearing this, Fu Jin hurriedly said, "Miss Yun, you can use the tent as you please." Hearing this, Yun Luofeng didn't say anything else. She pulled Little Tree with one hand and Lin Ruobai with the other as they walked into the tent. Just as Fu Jin and the others were about to enter, the muscular body of the puppet was already standing guard at the entrance. Its stern eyes forced Fu Jin and the others to take a few steps back. Fu Jin, Yenku sighed. This time, it's all thanks to Miss Yun that we were able to chase away Su Luoqin and the others. Actually, it shouldn't have been difficult for her to save her son from the Profound Azure Sect. There's no need for her to hurt the people of the Profound Azure Sect and make them her enemy. Fu Jin's words were naturally not for the sake of the Profound Azure Sect. In his heart, he had long wanted to tear the Profound Azure Sect to pieces. Chapter 1469. However, Yun Luofeng's decision to go against the Xianqing sect would only bring disaster upon herself. Was it worth it? Fu Jin, you should be glad that you chose to scold Xiao Shu. Yan Ke laughed bitterly. If you hadn't scolded Xiao Shu and made him leave, Miss Yun might not have helped us. Even though Fu Jin had scolded Xiao Shu, she had done so out of consideration for his safety. How could Yun Luofeng not have sensed it? However, they did not know that this was only one of the reasons. The second reason was that Yun Luofeng was a vengeful person. That old man must pay the price for daring to attack Xiao Shu. Inside the tent, when little Mo appeared out of nowhere, Lin Ruobai's face lit up with joy. She quickly rushed towards him and hugged the young man's slender body tightly before kissing him on the cheek. Little Mo's face instantly turned red. He quickly pushed Lin Ruobai away and glared at her. Do you know what it means to be a man and a woman? Lin Ruobai did not know why little Mo was angry. His face was full of grievance. I was just too happy to see you guys. That's why I couldn't suppress my excitement. Little Mo's face turned even uglier. Do you kiss someone else too? Actually, he wanted to ask what was the relationship between Lin Ruobai and Su Jun. At that moment, little Mo did not realize that he was starting to mind the presence of other men around Xiao Bai. Yun Luofeng sat down and casually took out a teacup. Once she filled it with water, she looked at the two people in front of her with a smile. I didn't. Lin Ruobai felt even more wronged. I only do this when I see you. Little Mo finally relaxed when he heard this. He slowly walked to Yun Luofeng's side and smiled. Master, I want to stay by your side this time. I don't plan on going back to the Divine Grimoire. Is that so? Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow. Haven't you always wanted to avoid Xiaobai? Little Mo looked a little awkward. Wasn't that because Xiaobai was too scary before? I think she's very cute now. Oh? Yun Luofeng's eyes were playful. Is jealousy delicious? Master, when was I jealous? It's not like you don't know that I never eat. Then why do I smell jealousy all over you? Little Mo, who hadn't yet reacted, immediately understood what Yun Luofeng meant. She blushed and said, Master, you're teasing me again. How could I be jealous? This is impossible. After glancing at the stubborn little Mo, Yun Luofeng turned to look at Lin Ruobai. Huli left with Wu? Lin Ruobai nodded. Huli said that he was worried about leaving me with Wu, so he left with Wu. Master, I have a feeling that there's something strange about Wu, but I can't tell what's strange. Wu won't do anything dangerous to Huli for the time being. I want to find Yun Xiao and Hong Luan first. Do you know where they are? Lin Ruobai thought for a moment and shook his head. I don't know. She really didn't know anything. One last question. What is your relationship with Su Jun? Little Mo wanted to ask this question, so Yun Luofeng asked it on his behalf. Master, why are you asking this? Lin Ruobai was stunned. He saved me and treated me well. The people from Xianqing sect also took good care of me. However, I hate them from now on. He asked carefully, Miss Lin, are you not planning to return to the Profound Azure sect? She will come back. Su Jun's expression was full of confidence. I can give her time. She will come back. But, big brother, the young man next to Miss Lin seems to be trying to steal her from someone else. Su Luoqin was very unhappy. Where did this wild kid come from? How dare he steal someone from the Profound Azure sect? Chapter 1471. Su Jun snorted, "Let's see if he has the ability to poach me." Xiao Bai must have been disheartened by my lack of action and found this kid to provoke me. Unfortunately, I've already seen through their tricks. The fact that he used the words poach meant that in Su Jun's heart, Lin Ruobai was already his. Moreover, he was confident that Xiao Mo didn't have the ability to compete with him. The reason why Lin Ruobai didn't shake off the youth's hand was to provoke him, to force him to reveal his true feelings. In the distance, Lin Ruobai's hand was firmly held in Xiao Mo's, making her heart beat faster. It was very uncomfortable. She wanted to break free from Xiao Mo's hand, but Xiao Mo's grip tightened. "Master?" Lin Ruobai's eyes reddened as she looked pitifully at Yun Luofeng, wanting to ask for help. "Xiao Bai," Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment, "does Su Jun like you?" Her words were very straightforward, and Lin Ruobai was immediately stunned. After a long time, Lin Ruobai regained her composure. "Master, regardless of whether he likes me or not, I don't like people like him. But I'm not sure either, but it's very uncomfortable to be by his side. If it wasn't to go out and play, I wouldn't follow him so often." In comparison, Xiao Mo gave her a very comfortable feeling. Yun Luofeng stroked her chin. "Looks like we have to find the fruit of the soul as soon as possible to help Xiao Bai recover her memories. Otherwise, with Xiao Bai's intelligence, she'll be easily deceived." "Fruit of the soul?" Fu Jin was a little surprised. "You're looking for the fruit of the soul?" Yun Luofeng's heart skipped a beat. "You know about the fruit of the soul? Legend has it that there's a fruit of the soul at the peak of Mount Ai, but I've never seen it before, so I don't know if it's true or not. Whether it's true or not, I have to give it a try. Even if there's only a glimmer of hope." Yun Luofeng looked at Lin Ruobai, who was as pure as a piece of white paper, and became even more determined. Only when she found the last fruit of the soul would she be able to rest assured. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Suddenly, the cry of an eagle came from the front. Just as everyone was bewildered, a huge body fell from the sky and landed in front of everyone with a bang. Heavens, it's the sky eagle. It is said that this heavenly eagle will never take the initiative to attack others unless someone attacks it first. Why is this heavenly eagle blocking our way? Apart from Yen Ku's group, there were also people from the various factions. When they saw the heavenly eagle blocking their path, they couldn't help but voice their doubts. If the heavenly eagle is blocking the way, it means that there are heavenly eagle eggs up ahead. Su Jun had arrived at some point in time. He led the members of the Black Azure sect forward and smiled at Lin Ruobai. "Xiao Bai, didn't you want a spiritual beast in the past? I'll get the heavenly eagle's egg for you as your pet, how about that?" Su Luochen chimed in from behind. "We, the Profound Azure sect, are interested in this heavenly eagle egg. If you don't want to be our enemy, please take a detour and leave." Their words and actions had made it clear that they must have the heavenly eagle's egg no matter what. Looking at Su Jun's gentle gaze, Lin Ruobai curled his lips. "If I want a spiritual beast, my master will snatch it for me. You don't need to be nosy." "Xiao Bai, are you angry at me?" Su Jun's smile grew even gentler. "Even though I don't know why you're angry, I have a reason to make you happy. Take this egg as an apology gift from me. How about that?" Chapter 1472. Lin Ruobai frowned slightly. In the past, she only felt that Su Jun made her very uncomfortable, but she didn't realize that this guy was actually so annoying. Seeing that Lin Ruobai didn't speak, Su Jun thought that she had agreed. His sharp eyes swept over the people around and said coldly, "What are you all still standing there for? All of you get lost." When everyone heard Su Jun's words, they hurriedly scattered to the sides. Since this was the only path that led to the top of the mountain, they did not leave. They merely expressed that they would not compete with the Black Azure sect. "You guys get out of the way." Su Jun glanced at Yen Ku and the others. Yun Luofeng was Lin Ruobai's master. He would not dare to let her go, so there was no need for the others to stay. Fu Jin snorted but didn't take a step away. Su Jun's face darkened. Just as he was about to order the people from the Profound Azure sect to chase them away, An evil voice suddenly rang out, causing those people to stop in their tracks. If anyone dares to take another step forward, Yun-yi, break their legs. Perhaps it was because of Yun-yi's previous means that these people were afraid. They didn't dare to move an inch forward, for fear that this capable man would really break their legs. If you don't want to leave, then so be it. Su-jun did not force them any further. His gaze swept across Lin Ruobai. Xiaobai, just you wait. I'll bring you the spiritual beast egg very soon. This sky eagle was very powerful. It was already a mid-level holy venerable and was only a step away from breaking through to high level. Hence, in order to make Lin Ruobai happy, Su-jun had already thrown out his fist. All of you, kill Sky Eagle and snatch the spiritual beast egg. Su-jun gritted his teeth and ordered sternly. At that moment, everyone from the profound Azure sect took out their weapons and attacked Sky Eagle. Yun Luofeng did not stop them as she watched their actions. Her lips curled into a sinister smile as her eyes flickered. This heavenly eagle is only a mid-level holy venerable right now. It will break through to the high level soon. Coupled with the fact that Sky Eagle is eager to protect its son, its combat power will definitely increase by a level. The actions of these people from the profound Azure sect are no different from courting death. Anyone who was in danger, or when their loved ones were in danger, would erupt with great power. It was the same for spirit beasts. Besides, this was a spiritual beast that was on the verge of a breakthrough. If they were to fight it, they would be digging their own graves. I don't think that Su-jun is a good person. How dare he have designs on Xiaobai? Xiaomo scoffed. He should teach these people a lesson so that they won't dare to pester Xiaobai again. To be honest, little Mo didn't want to kill these people. Even if they wanted to harm Little White, at least they had saved it before. If it wasn't for this, little Mo would have already made a move. The profound Azure sect's strength was definitely not something that an ordinary force could compare to. Therefore, even when facing the protective Sky Eagle, they still had the upper hand. In fact, they were even showing signs of defeating Sky Eagle. Of course, that was because Sky Eagle had broken through in a state of anxiety and anger. Boundless spiritual energy circled around its body, and it flapped its wings, stirring up a huge gust of wind. It raised its head and let out a long, angry cry, and its ferocious eyes stared fixedly at the people in front of it. Oh no, why is it breaking through at a time like this? Su-jun's expression changed and turned pale. Young master, if this was the Sky Eagle from before, we would still have a chance of winning. Now that it has broken through, we're no match for it. An elder took a few steps back and spoke with an ugly expression. Chapter 1473. Su-jun's heart was filled with bitterness. If he had known that this Sky Eagle would have a breakthrough, he would not have tried to show off. Now, with his warning, no one would dare to help him fight against the Sky Eagle. Hence, Su-jun was already thinking of giving up on this Sky Eagle edge. However, when he turned around to look at Lin Ruobai, he realized that the young girl was staring at him anxiously. The glint in her eyes made Su-jun's heart harden. He gritted his teeth and said, I will never give up on this Sky Eagle egg. Keep going, I don't believe that we can't kill a Sky Eagle with so many of us here. The members of the Xianqing sect smiled bitterly, but they did not dare to disobey Su-jun's orders. They could only bite the bullet and charge forward. When Su-jun faced the Sky Eagle again, Lin Ruobai had already turned her gaze away. Her animated eyes were now filled with disdain. Who told you to keep bothering me? This time, you're in for a hard time. After all, in Lin Ruobai's heart, there was only her master. Even though Su-jun had saved her life, she would not remember this friendship. Who asked this bastard to bully master? Anyone who bullies master is not a good person. Cluck, cluck, cluck. The Sky Eagle's voice was sharp as it flapped its wings and charged towards the humans who had the audacity to provoke it. Its eyes were filled with ferocity as it flapped its wings fiercely like a hurricane on Su-jun's body. At that moment, Su-jun was sent flying out of the way. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. Master Xiao. The crowd turned pale with fright, but they had no time to care about Su Jun. All they could do was bitterly deal with the Sky Eagle's lightning-like attacks. "What are you all standing around for?" An elder finally could not hold on any longer and roared at the crowd who were watching the show. "Aren't you going to help us fight against this Sky Eagle?" The crowd hesitated, unsure if they should help or not. However, in the end, one of them stepped forward and decided to help the Xianqing sect. Just as he stepped forward, a chilly gaze swept towards him and the young girl's lukewarm voice rang out. Don't forget what the Xianqing sect had said. If you attack, they might think that you're trying to steal the spiritual beast egg. After all, the Xianqing sect has always been unreasonable. The middle-aged man, who was about to make a move, immediately took a few steps back. The young girl was right. If the profound Azure sect thought that he was trying to steal the spirit beast egg, then he wouldn't be able to explain himself. Moreover, risking his life to deal with Heavenly Eagle, yet he could not obtain anything. Just thinking about it made him feel a little indignant. The old man from the profound Azure sect was about to go crazy because of Yun Luofeng. He wanted nothing more than to split her in half. However, they were already unable to deal with the Sky Eagle in front of them, so they couldn't spare any time to find Yun Luofeng. If you can't kill this Sky Eagle, don't even think about going up the mountain. The old man gritted his teeth and stared at Yun Luofeng angrily. Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. "I can wait until all of you are dead before I make my move." The old man trembled in anger. "How can you help us?" The man behind the woman was quite strong. If they could get his help, they might be able to subdue the Sky Eagle. "An item for a life. If you have an item of equal value, bring it to me and I'll save you." The old man from the Xianqing sect was about to vomit blood. They knew that out of so many people, only Yun Luofeng could help them. However, even though he was scolding them in his heart, it was as if someone had slapped him hard in the face in the next moment, causing him to be stunned. Because the initially aggressive Sky Eagle suddenly retracted all of its aura and really stopped on the spot. Its eyes were still filled with fear as it carefully watched Yun Luofeng. Everyone was dumbfounded. What exactly happened? How could a human command Sky Eagle? Sky Eagle did not know what these people were thinking. He only knew that the peerlessly beautiful young lady was emitting an aura that did not belong to a human. Chapter 1475. This kind of pressure could only be felt by spirit beasts at the Saint Monarch realm, of course. He did not know that this pressure did not belong to Yun Luofeng, but came from fire. The grade difference between spirit beasts was very obvious. Once they encountered a spirit beast of a higher grade than them, they would all stop attacking. Otherwise, it would be equivalent to asking for trouble. Yun Luofeng glanced at the Sky Eagle before looking at Su Jun. His voice was cold and evil. "I'm not asking for your space ring. I'm returning the favor for saving Xiaobai. From now on, if your profound Azure sect dares to provoke me again, I'll destroy your entire sect." The young girl's words touched Lin Ruobai, who was standing beside her. She wasn't as smart as before, but that didn't mean she was stupid. Yun Luofeng had let Su Jun go this time because he wanted to return the favor on her behalf. Even though Yun Luofeng wasn't afraid of others making thoughtless remarks, he was still a person who valued kindness. If he could return the favor for her this time, even if the profound Azure sect continued to cause trouble for him in the future, they would have a reason to kill him. Su Jun looked at Yun Luofeng coldly. "I didn't beg you to save me. No matter what you say, I've already repaid you for saving Xiaobai." Yun Luofeng curled the corners of his lips and turned his gaze towards the Sky Eagle. "Take me to your Sky Eagle egg." Su Jun's expression changed. He propped himself up and said coldly, "This Heavenly Eagle egg belongs to me. Why do you want to snatch it away?" For the sake of the Heavenly Eagle eggs, the profound Azure sect had lost many experts. Was he going to give them away just like that? "I was the one who subdued Sky Eagle." Yun Luofeng sneered. Su Jun snorted. You're working for money. The profound Azure sect has given you so many treasures, which proves that we hired you to deal with this heavenly eagle. The spoils of war naturally belong to the profound Azure sect. Really? Yun Luofeng shrugged. I only promised to save your lives. I didn't promise anything else. If you want the Sky Eagle's egg, you'll have to see if the Sky Eagle agrees. Hearing this, Sky Eagle's sharp eyes shot toward Su Jun and the others. The murderous light in its eyes intensified as it planned to pounce on them and tear them into pieces at any moment. You are shameless. These 3 words were spat out by Su Jun through gritted teeth. They had worked hard for half a day, but their hard work ended up benefiting others. Come, take me to your nest. Yun Luofeng ignored Su Jun behind him and continued speaking to Sky Eagle. Skyhawk was silent for a moment before it turned around in the end, and it led Yun Luofeng and the others towards the depths of the dense forest. In this dense forest, there was an eagle nest between 2 trees. There was a huge egg in this eagle nest, surrounded by many heavenly eagles. These heavenly eagles were not as strong as the one they encountered, but they were still holy venerates. A heavenly eagle egg that was protected by so many heavenly eagles was definitely not ordinary. It's Sky Eagle King's egg. Little Mo pondered for a while and suddenly said, Sky Eagle King? When these 3 words fell into everyone's ears, their hearts trembled. The people from the profound Azure sect were filled with regret. This was not an ordinary heavenly eagle egg, it was the egg of the heavenly eagle king. If they had not asked for Yun Luofeng's help, perhaps this heavenly eagle egg would have belonged to them. Su Jun clenched his fists in hatred. He turned his head and glanced at Little Mo and Little White, who were whispering to each other. The anger in his heart intensified as he said coldly, Since you've taken this heavenly eagle egg, you have no right to obtain all the treasures on Mount AI. Chapter 1476. Yenku glared at Su Jun angrily. But this heavenly eagle was tamed by Miss Yun. Why can't you let her get the other treasures? Because she can't afford to offend so many of us here. Su Jun sneered. His eyes were filled with coldness as he glanced at Yun Luofeng and the others. Other than the Enchanting sect, there were also experts from various forces. Although these people were not the strongest, most of them had the strength of a holy venerable. Furthermore, so what if they could not defeat Yun Luofeng's bodyguards? Did she really dare to offend all the forces in Ling Continent? Shabai. After saying this, Su Jun turned to look at Lin Ruabai with a gentle smile in his eyes. Don't worry, I will give you your share as you wish. You should join my team. No. Lin Ruabai pouted. I just want to follow Master. Xiaobai, I know you are angry with me. You are angry that I should not have been so distant from you. I know that you have me in your heart. You have a close relationship with this young man just to anger me. Now that you have succeeded, can you come back? Su Jun lowered his voice as much as he could and even sounded like he was pleading. When had the young master of the Enchanting sect ever been so humble? But for Lin Ruabai, it was all worth it. Lin Ruabai was stunned. She was close to Xiao Mo just to piss Su Jun off? Why didn't she know what she was thinking? Xiaobai, why have you been living with this idiot for the past year? A cold glint flashed across Little Mo's eyes. He grabbed Lin Ruabai's hand tightly as if he was declaring his ownership and looked at Su Jun arrogantly. Su Jun did not bother with Xiao Mo. In his heart, Xiao Mo was just a pitiful person who was being used by Lin Ruabai. Lin Ruabai would eventually return to his side. But Xiaobai pouted. I didn't know he was such an idiot. Su Jun, who was not angry at first, immediately flew into a rage when he heard Xiaobai's words. He glared coldly at Xiao Mo. Don't feed Xiaobai bad information. Xiaobai is a pure and kind girl. She will become a bad friend sooner or later if she stays by your side. Azure Wings. Suddenly, the young girl's cold and evil voice rang out. In that instant, a burly figure instantly stood in front of her. Just this powerful and majestic figure alone gave off an extremely oppressive feeling. Su Jun's expression changed completely. He felt like he couldn't breathe. It was as if this strong man could easily end his life. Xiao Imo was betrothed to Xiao Bai many years ago. Yun Luofeng's cold gaze drifted towards Su Jun. So, if you have any ideas about Xiao Bai, Yun Yi will immediately wring your neck. Su Jun was so frightened that he didn't dare to speak. At a time like this, the profound Azure Sect's elders didn't dare to step forward. After all, the Azure Wings had left a deep impression on them. More importantly, there was a group of heavenly eagles eyeing them like tigers watching their prey. The treasures of Mount Ai have always been obtained by capable people. You can't blame anyone for not having the ability to obtain them. Yun Luofeng wickedly smiled. Little white, little Mo, since they want to fight for the treasure, then we will act alone. Chapter 1477. After saying this, he walked towards the Heavenly Eagle King's egg. Seeing her arrival, the Heavenly Eagle sect members subconsciously opened up a path. Yun Luofeng easily obtained the Heavenly Eagle egg and casually threw it towards Lin Rubai. At this moment, not to mention the humans, even the Heavenly Eagle's hearts tightened. They nervously stared at the Heavenly Eagle egg in the air, afraid that it would fall. What was a false alarm was that little Mo caught the Heavenly Eagle egg in time and placed it in Xiao Bai's hands. Master, is this Heavenly Eagle egg for me? Lin Rubai was very happy as he stared at Yun Luofeng. Yes, it's a gift for you. Yun Luofeng's lips curled up. Moreover, this gift came too easily. It's no different from picking it up. The profound Azure sect members almost vomited blood. Their faces were ashen. The Heavenly Eagle egg that they had spent so much effort and sacrificed so many lives to obtain was actually so easy in her eyes? This woman must be deliberately trying to anger them to death. The figure of a Heavenly Eagle gradually elongated in the sky and turned into a handsome man who landed in front of Yun Luofeng. This Heavenly Eagle was the one that had fought against the profound Azure sect. You want to follow us? Yun Luofeng sensed the Heavenly Eagle's will and asked indifferently. The handsome man nodded. I am the Heavenly Eagle King's personal bodyguard. Now that my king is dead, I have been ordered to protect your highness. I will follow your highness wherever you go. His gaze was fixed on the Heavenly Eagle egg in Xiao Bai's arms. His originally cold and murderous eyes became very gentle. The Heavenly Eagle egg does not belong to me. Yun Luofeng pointed at Lin Rubai behind him. If you want to follow me, she will be your new master. Hearing this, the man knelt on one knee and said firmly, My name is Inju. From now on, I will protect your highness and the young master as my duty. Su Jun's eyes turned red with jealousy. A high-level holy venerable spirit beast and a mysterious Heavenly Eagle egg. If these two items belonged to him, the profound Azure sect's power would definitely rise to another level. But this was all because of Yun Luofeng. Su Jun clenched his fists tightly as he glared at Yun Luofeng's back, his eyes filled with rage. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't defeat Yun Yi, he would have rushed over and torn this hateful woman to shreds. Let's go. Yun Luofeng said to little Mo and the others as if he had ignored Su Jun's existence. Fu Jin was stunned. He was a little hesitant. Should we follow them? If we stay here, the profound Azure sect will definitely not let us go. The best outcome now is to follow Lady Yun. Yen Ku pondered for a moment and said. Then she quickly caught up to Yun Luofeng. When the others saw that Yun Luofeng did not resist their pursuit, they also chased after her and followed closely behind her. Ai Mountain was rich in medicinal herbs. Along the way, Yun Luofeng had already found countless precious medicinal herbs. Unfortunately, she still hadn't found a single 1,000-year-old medicinal herb. Suddenly, Yun Luofeng's gaze fell on a jade-green medicinal herb in front of him. This medicinal herb was like a jade-green swimming snake. It shone brightly and looked very lively. It's the jade serpent herb. She vaguely remembered that it was recorded in the Divine Book of Medicine that if this jade serpent herb was placed in the space, it could evolve into a spirit serpent herb. Chapter 1478. The effect of the spirit snakegrass was to increase the speed of a cultivator's cultivation. For example, it would normally take 3 months to advance from a low-level Holy King to an intermediate-level Holy King. He would only need half a month. This alone was not enough. If the juice of the spirit snakegrass was extracted, it could break through the barrier of a cultivator and allow those who were stuck at a certain level to break through. Of course, the spirit snakegrass could be consumed within 2 months. The effect of one stalk was half a month. If the second stalk was consumed within half a month, the effect would be counterproductive. As for the juice extracted, it required the concentration of several stalks of spirit snakegrass. Hence, a person could only consume 1 bottle in their lifetime. Consuming more would not only have no effect, but it would also cause difficulties in advancing in the future. This is good stuff. Xiao Mo had obviously discovered the spirit snakegrass as well, and her eyes lit up. Miss Yun. As the only doctor in the 4-man team, Qi Xiao had a deep understanding of medicinal herbs. When he saw Yun Luofeng walk towards the jade snakegrass, his eyes were filled with surprise. This is the jade snakegrass. Although the jade snakegrass can slightly increase the spiritual energy in one's body, the spiritual energy is very little. For people of our level, it is not very useful. In the beginning, they might have thought that Yun Luofeng did not have much strength. However, after Yun Yi's strength was revealed, no one dared to underestimate Yun Luofeng anymore. How weak could her strength be if she could bring along such a powerful guard? This jade snake grass may not be useful to you, but it is very useful to me. Perhaps it was because Yun Luofeng had found the jade snake grass that she was very happy and answered Qi Xiao's question in a good mood. Qi Xiao's eyes were filled with doubt. He did not seem to understand the use of the jade snake grass for Yun Luofeng. Because Yun Luofeng had been collecting medicinal herbs along the way, the other forces had caught up to her. These people did not look good. After walking for such a long time, they did not even find a single medicinal herb, let alone a treasure. Needless to say, they knew that Yun Luofeng had harvested all of them. However, everyone was very afraid of the strength of Yun Yi and the Sky Eagle. No one dared to cause trouble for Yun Luofeng. After they continued forward, the people behind them began to curse. This woman is too vicious. She didn't even leave a single strand of hair for us. If all the experts from our sect are here, let's see if this woman still dares to act so arrogantly. Su Jun fell silent as he listened to the curses of the people around him. Suddenly, the corners of his lips curled up and a cold smile hung on his lips. Second brother, did you see the herbs that this woman picked just now? You mean the emerald serpent grass? Su Luochen's eyes flickered as he asked. That's right. Su Jun nodded his head. Although we're not doctors, we've read a few medical books. We know that the emerald serpent grass has no effect on our abilities. But this woman claims that the jade serpent grass is very useful to her. A sarcastic smile appeared on Su Jun's face. Therefore, I conclude that this woman is very weak. She should be weaker than a celestial spirit practitioner. Pooh! Su Luochen couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of saliva. Big brother, are you joking with me? Was this woman's strength below that of a celestial spirit practitioner? He hasn't even become a venerable spirit or a holy spirit. Chapter 1479. In the continent where Yun Luofeng first came from, a celestial spirit master was already considered a very powerful existence. After all, the strongest in the Roaring Dragon continent were the venerable spirit masters, but this was the 7 continents continent, where geniuses gathered and experts were countless. A celestial spirit master was the lowest existence. Even the servants of some powerful forces were not just celestial spirit masters. The jade serpent grass is only useful for those below the celestial spirit master level. Even if this jade serpent grass is very old, it will not be of any use. Su Jun frowned. So, later, let the elder distract the guard. It will be easy for us to kill Yun Luofeng. As for why he did not distract the guard himself, That guard was so powerful, wouldn't he be seeking death if he did it himself? This kind of suicidal task must be done by someone else. He only needed to deal with Yun Luofeng. Big brother, Su Luochen was a little excited. Don't kill this woman first. Hand her to me, I will make her wish she was dead. Su Jun snorted, his eyes cold. Making her wish she was dead is too easy. A piece of trash below the celestial spirit master dares to clamor in front of me. In any case, I have already broken through to the middle level of a holy king. How can a piece of trash like her compare? Big brother? Su Luochen seemed to have thought of something and continued, the guard behind her is so powerful. Could she be from a powerful force? No way. The most powerful force in the Ling continent is the Jun family. I have seen the Jun family's young lady, Jun Ling. It is clearly not her. Su Jun shook his head. Moreover, this time, I will kill everyone. By then, no matter how powerful her background is, she will not be able to find the murderer. Of course, he only said this when he saw that the other forces were hurrying on their way. Otherwise, if this fell into the ears of the other forces, there would be internal strife before they could deal with Yun Luofeng. Then Miss Lin? Su Luochen asked hesitantly. Su Jun's eyes were full of confidence. Xiaobai loves me. I believe she will never betray me. She is just angry now. One day, she will realize that the person she loves the most in this world is me. She was the only one who was worthy of Xiaobai. When Yun Luofeng swept through the AI mountains, she didn't even leave behind a single ordinary medicinal herb. To her, any medicinal herb could become food for the rat tribe. She had never been one to waste food. Therefore, the people following behind her did not even pick up a single stalk of medicinal herb. Instantly, everyone started complaining. Is that the soul fruit? Yun Luofeng was stunned. She suddenly stopped in her tracks and stared closely at the bright red flower petals swaying gracefully at the top of the mountain. Within the bright red petals was a transparent fruit. Under the aura of the fruit, even one's soul would tremble. Wait, Yun Luofeng wanted to step forward, but she seemed to feel something and took a few steps back. Her eyes turned away from the fruit of soul and landed on a green withered tree next to it. This is the Holy Maiden tribe's tree of life. However, I don't know why the tree of life would appear here. Little Mo furrowed his brows and sent a soul message. It was said that the tree of life could bear fruits of life, which could extend one's lifespan by 100 years. What was even more ridiculous was that the juice of the fruit of life, jade serpent grass, was different. Even if one were to take one now and take another 100 years later, there would be no side effects at all. Chapter 1480. The only downside was, this fruit of life would only grow once every 10 years. In other words, there would only be 10 fruits in 100 years, which could only extend the lifespan of 10 people. Miss Yun. Yenku took 2 steps forward. A few days ago, I heard that a miracle had appeared on Mount AI. That miracle was a jade green light that enveloped the entire sky. Hence, countless cultivators have flocked here to obtain this miracle. If my guess is correct, this tree is the miracle that has been rumored to be happening. Yun Luofeng did not speak. Her eyes were fixed on the tree of life. She had to admit that she was tempted. The lifespan of humans was not like that of spiritual beasts. After all, there was a limit. If one did not break through within a certain period of time, they would die. For example, the old man had only become an earth spiritualist at such an old age. There was still a huge gap between him and the sky spiritualist. According to the lifespan of humans, he could only live to 80 years old at most. But now, grandfather was already 70 years old. If he did not have any miraculous encounters, he would at most have 10 more years to live. However, things would be different with the tree of life. The tree of life could increase one's lifespan by 100 years. After 100 years, the old man could continue to consume the fruit of life. By then, he would have an endless lifespan. Where is the miracle? Didn't they say that there was a miracle here? Why is there only one fruit and a withered tree? The people from the other forces rushed over. However, there was only one fruit of the soul and a withered ancient tree. Although the fruit of the soul was very precious, compared to the miracle in their hearts, there was still a huge gap. Therefore, how could they not be disappointed? That's impossible. I clearly saw the miracle soaring into the sky with my own eyes. Why is there nothing? A young man's expression was dejected and painful. I lost many of my men on this trip to Mount Ai. Am I going to return empty-handed? What was the use of this withered tree? They would probably despise it even if I gave it to them. It must be you guys. Su Jun's eyes suddenly turned red. You guys were one step ahead of us. You must have obtained the miracle and hidden it. Quickly hand over the miracle and we can spare your life. After Su Jun said this, everyone's gaze turned to Yun Luofeng. At this moment, in their eyes, Yun Yi's strength was no longer important. They were a bunch of greedy people who wanted to obtain the miracle. Hand over the miracle. That's right. So many of us came to Mount Ai together. What right do you have to swallow all the benefits? Forget about the other herbs, but you must hand over the miracle. Otherwise, we won't let you off. You're alone. How are you going to fight against so many of us? If you don't hand over the miracle, we won't even let your family off. After Yun Luofeng sensed that the tree of life was no longer a threat, she walked towards the soul fruit and plucked it easily. Logically speaking, under normal circumstances, the soul fruit should have a powerful life-bound beast guarding it. However, for some reason, the life-bound beast of the soul fruit didn't appear. Yun Luofeng acted as if he hadn't heard their voices. After plucking the soul fruit, he walked over to Lin Ruabai and handed it to her. This is the last soul fruit. You will recover after eating it. Leave the rest to me. You can sleep in peace. Lin Ruabai understood that Yun Luofeng didn't want her to see such a bloody scene. Chapter 1481. So, she obediently ate the fruit of soul. Puchi. After swallowing the fruit of the soul, Lin Ruabai spat out a mouthful of blood. Her body swayed and she fell into Little Mo's arms. Su Jun glanced at Lin Ruabai, who was in Xiao Mo's arms, and the anger in his heart intensified. Then, he seemed to remember something and sneered. Based on what I know, those who consume the soul fruit will need to sleep for many days. As for the exact number of days, it depends on the individual's physique. With Xiao Bai's physique, she will need at least half a year to wake up. Su Jun's eyes flashed and he sneered, So, do you know how big a mistake you have made? I don't know what mistake I've made. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at Su Jun, his voice cold. I only know that you've made a mistake that I can't forgive. Yun Yi, don't let anyone who came here today off. Yen Ku and the others were startled. Perhaps they hadn't expected that Yun Luofeng would actually start a massacre. But after thinking about it, they figured it out. This young girl must have a vengeful personality. These people wanted to kill her first, so what harm was there in killing them? A kind person would be bullied. Only when one is evil would others fear him. Yun Yi's body flashed and he charged towards the crowd. His figure was like a god of death. With a wave of his hand, he killed those people. Su Jun gave Su Luochen a look, and Su Luochen understood his meaning. While Azure Wing wasn't paying attention, he attacked Yun Luofeng. Damned woman, I'll cripple you today. Let's see how arrogant you can be then. Miss Yun, be careful. Seeing Su Luochen rush towards Yun Luofeng, Yen Ku and the others hastily shouted. Although Yun Yi was very strong, they did not know how strong Yun Luofeng was. Therefore, when they saw Su Luochen's actions, they hurriedly warned him. In the gentle breeze, the girl did not move at all. Her white dress fluttered in the wind, and her evil aura was awe-inspiring. When Su Luochen arrived in front of her, the young lady raised her brows, her indifferent eyes glancing at the fierce-looking man. She gently raised her hand. A slap landed on Su Luochen's face. The sound of the slap was very soft, so soft that it seemed to be powerless. Seeing this, the various factions couldn't help shaking their heads and sneering. Only Yen Ku and the others bitterly smiled. They were a certain distance away from Yun Luofeng just now, so they weren't able to help her. Only now did they have the time to stop Su Luochen. However, what happened next left everyone dumbfounded. Under Yun Luofeng's gentle slap, Su Luochen's head was like a spinning top, continuously spinning on his neck. He wanted to open his mouth to call for help, but no sound came out of his throat. With a pa sound, his neck broke and his head tumbled down. Fresh blood spurted out, and only then did he break free from the dizziness. The entire mountaintop was deathly silent. It was so quiet that even the sound of the wind could be heard clearly. Su Jun had long been shocked speechless, followed by a kind of fear and joy from the bottom of his heart. He was afraid of Yun Luofeng's strength. Fortunately, the person who went up just now wasn't him, otherwise, it would be difficult for him to survive this slap. The funny thing was that she actually thought that Yun Luofeng was a heavenly spirit being. Suddenly, Su Jun seemed to remember something and gritted his teeth. Did you do it on purpose? You must have deliberately picked the jade serpent grass so that we would lower our guard and fall into your trap. How can you be so vicious? If it weren't for you, so many people wouldn't have died. Chapter 1482. If he hadn't seen Yun Luofeng picking the jade snake grass by chance and determined that Yun Luofeng was weak, he wouldn't have used everyone to attack Yun Luofeng. So, this was all Yun Luofeng's fault. On purpose. Yun Luofeng smirked, his voice sinister. You think you're worthy? Su Jun's face paled. He took 2 steps back and looked at Yun Luofeng in fear. Because, at this moment, he suddenly realized that Yun Luofeng's figure was gradually disappearing. That's right. Her body was becoming fainter and fainter, then slowly disappearing from head to toe. It was as if she had melted. Master! Little Mo's sharp eyes caught a glimpse of Yun Luofeng's strange state. He ignored everything else and rushed towards Yun Luofeng with Lin Ruobai in his arms, grabbing her hand. After touching Yun Luofeng, Little Mo's body also became fainter and slowly disappeared. Miss Yun. Yen Ku and the others also wanted to rush over, but by the time they reached Yun Luofeng had already disappeared. Without Yun Luofeng's command, Yun Yi began to wave his fists and charge recklessly. He was like a mindless machine, killing without order. Let's go! Su Jun didn't dare to order Yun Yi to fight recklessly. While Yun Yi was attacking the others, he quickly led the Xianqing sect members away. This was the consequence of Yun Yi's lack of intelligence. A puppet without intelligence would only fight according to its master's orders. It didn't know how to think independently and didn't know that it was necessary to stop the escaping Xianqing sect members. Of course, this kind of puppet had another characteristic. Just like the little loli that Yun Luofeng had given to the old man, it would automatically attack when its master was in danger or when it was in danger. However, it didn't know how to think independently. It had power but didn't know how to use it. What do we do? Yen Ku stared blankly in the direction where Yun Luofeng and little Mo had disappeared. Her eyes were filled with confusion, not knowing what to do. They just disappeared, they're not dead. Fu Jin gritted her teeth. We can wait for them here. They'll come back. Yen Ku sighed. That's the only thing we can do now. It's a pity that we let those people from the profound Azure sect escape. If they get to Miss Yun's family, they might harm her family. Speaking of which, all of this happened because of us. Hearing this, the 4 of them looked apologetic. If it weren't for them, Yun Luofeng wouldn't have gotten into a conflict with the profound Azure sect. Just as Yen Ku and the others were wondering why Yun Luofeng had disappeared, they suddenly appeared in a room. The room was very old and there were a few books on the table. There were also a few tree stumps in the room, which seemed to be used for resting. Finally, the successor of the sacred maiden tribe is here. A distant voice that seemed to cross thousands of years of time and space was transmitted into Yun Luofeng's ears. Yun Luofeng turned his head and saw a woman dressed in a long green gown with 2 emerald green leaves pinned to her hair slowly walking over. She was as beautiful as a tree fairy that had walked out of a painting. She was unforgettable. This is inside the Tree of Life? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at the woman in front of him. Why did you bring us into the Tree of Life? The woman smiled gently and slowly walked towards the unconscious Lin Ruobai. Chapter 1483. Many people have come here to explore these days, but those people were not the people I was waiting for. So, I killed them all and disappeared from this world along with their corpses. Yun Luofeng finally understood why there weren't any corpses at the top of the mountain despite seeing so many corpses along the way. It turned out that the tree fairy was behind all this. Did you kill the life-bound beast of the fruit of soul? That's right, the woman smirked. Anyone who covets the tree of life deserves to die. Except for her, of course. The woman raised her chin, her voice domineering. You have a close relationship with her, which is why I spared your life. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and a cold glint flashed across them. Do you mean that even without Xiao Bai, you would still kill me? Yes, the tree of life can only be possessed by the sacred maiden tribe. The green-robed woman's eyes were condescending. However, the successor of the sacred maiden tribe is currently unconscious. I want her to stay in the body of the tree of life. As her friend, you should naturally stay with her. What if I don't agree? Yun Luofeng looked at the woman in green coldly. Arrogant human. The woman in green snorted. With a wave of her hand, a gust of wind blew out of her sleeve towards Yun Luofeng. Bang! Yun Luofeng raised his hand to block, but was still hit by the woman's power. He quickly retreated until he hit the wall. Master. Xiao Mo's expression changed. He glared at the woman in green angrily. Aren't you just a tree that has turned into a spirit? How dare you hurt my master? Do you believe that I won't pluck out all your leaves? The woman in green curled her lips in disdain. If I'm not wrong, you should like the successor of my clan. Unfortunately, the Holy Maiden clan never allows women to interact with men from the outside world. Don't even think about getting her in this lifetime. Yun Luofeng raised his hand to block the enraged Xiao Mo. His evil eyes slowly turned towards the green-robed woman. I won't stay here. Similarly, I won't give Whitey to you. In the beginning, Yun Luofeng was indeed very tempted by the Tree of Life. However, when she saw that there was a tree fairy inside the Tree of Life, she temporarily gave up on the idea. The most important thing now was to get Little White and Little Mo out of this place. Now that you've come to my place, you still want to leave? The green-robed woman sneered. I didn't kill you because you're my clan's descendant. Don't push your luck. Yun Luofeng smiled coldly. If you don't let me leave, then I will leave this place even if I have to fight my way out. No one could stop her footsteps. The green-robed woman sneered. Then let me see your strength. Boom. The green-robed woman's body flashed and she quickly rushed in front of Yun Luofeng. Her leg was like a gust of wind as she quickly kicked Yun Luofeng's stomach. Even though Yun Luofeng had quick reflexes and used his arms to block, he was still sent flying by her kick. His body fiercely slammed into the cold wall behind him. This woman was very strong. It should be above the fire. However, she still hadn't broken through to the saint level and was still within the saint level of Fan Tao. Master! Xiao Mo's eyes were red and her voice was filled with panic. Don't come over! Yun Luofeng slowly stood up from the ground and looked straight at the green-robed woman. Is that all your strength? Chapter 1484. The green-robed woman did not expect the young girl to be able to stand up under her attack. A hint of surprise appeared in her eyes. You're different from the humans I've seen before. Unfortunately, humans are still humans. Humans were greedy, selfish, cruel, merciless, and incomparably sinister. Forget it. The green-robed woman looked into the young girl's cold eyes. She waved her hand and said in a relaxed tone, I don't need you to accompany my descendant here. You can leave now. However, I hope that you and my descendant will never meet again. Yun Luofeng stood upright in front of the green-robed woman. His beautiful face was filled with determination. I was the one who brought Xiao Bai to this place, so I must take her away. The green-robed woman scoffed. I've already let you live. You still don't know what's good for you. I'll let you have a taste of the consequences of offending me. Whoosh. The green-robed woman raised her hand. Countless branches came from all directions and attacked Yun Luofeng. These branches were like swimming dragons. They were alive and agile. The jade-green branches seemed to have a life of their own as they quickly attacked Yun Luofeng. Master, be careful. Little Mo carefully placed Little White on the ground. Then, he rushed towards Yun Luofeng without a care for anything else. His eyes were filled with anger and his body was burning with flames of fury. However, just as he was about to reach Yun Luofeng, suddenly, the branch that seemed to have been given life instantly withered, and its soft branches drooped down. The green-robed woman turned pale with fright. She took a few steps back and stared at Yun Luofeng with her jade-green eyes. A white light suddenly flashed. In an instant, a little boy dressed in a white robe stood in front of Yun Luofeng. This little boy looked like he was carved from jade. His big round eyes were filled with killing intent. He was different from the innocent and naive boy of the past. At this moment, the little boy was like a little demon bathed in blood. The aura he exuded was terrifying. A little treeman dares to bully my mother. The boy's words were clear but full of murderous intent. Don't be fooled by the fact that this little fellow only appeared at Yun Luofeng's side with the innocent appearance of a child. However, don't forget his identity. This little fellow was not human. It was not a spiritual beast either. It was a tree that could transform into a human. Furthermore, this tree had actually existed for thousands of years. But because it was heavily injured by someone, it degenerated into a tree species. How could such a murderous tree be as innocent and cute as a human boy? He was the most dangerous existence by Yun Luofeng's side. In her panic, the green-robed woman once again directed the tree branches to attack Yun Luofeng and the others. In the next second, she was completely stunned. The tree branch that was originally attacking Yun Luofeng actually turned around and attacked her instead. Caught off guard, the green-robed woman's clothes were torn apart by the branches, and the sharp branches cut her soft skin, causing blood to flow out. Fortunately, the Tree of Life's recovery ability was very strong. Therefore, the green-robed woman's wound was enveloped by a layer of faint green light, and her injury was gradually recovering. But now, the green-robed woman no longer cared about her own pain. Her shocked eyes were firmly fixed on the small tree. Her face was filled with disbelief. How could this be? We are different kinds of tree ants. How can you command my branches? Unless you are... Chapter 1485. The woman in green bit her lip, unable to utter the last few words. How could this be? How could such an existence appear here? And willingly recognize a human woman as its master? But other than it, who else could have such an ability? Kneel. The little boy shouted coldly with one hand behind his back. He was like a high and mighty king, looking disdainfully at the woman in green. Thump. The woman in green lost control of her legs and knelt in front of Yun Luofeng with a thud. Her forehead was covered in cold sweat, and her delicate body trembled slightly. Mother! The little tree glanced coldly at the woman in green, then turned to look at Yun Luofeng. The aura of a king suddenly disappeared, and it returned to its former innocence. This bad woman dares to bully you. I'll beat her up for you to vent your anger, okay? The little tree had wanted to rush out to teach Yun Luofeng a lesson after seeing that he was being bullied. However, Yun Luofeng, who was afraid that the spirit beasts would be in danger due to their impulsiveness, had cut off the connection with the grimoire space, making it impossible for him to come out. That's right, although the little tree was powerful, the grimoire space did not listen to his commands. If the connection was cut off, he would not be able to come out. Fortunately, little Mo had decided to try everything in a desperate situation. While Yun Luofeng was relaxed, he had used his own power to restore the connection with the grimoire space. That was why the little tree had come out to teach the woman in green a lesson. The thought of this made the little tree pout angrily. Mother, Sister Huohua told me to tell you that although I know you're thinking for them, they're very angry that you're acting on your own. She said that she's following you because she plans to face life and death with you. If you face danger alone every time, what's the use of them? Besides, isn't the purpose of the spirit beasts to protect you from danger? Yun Luofeng's face darkened. He said sternly, Little tree, I admit that I was acting on my own and did not consider your feelings. But to me, each and every one of you is very important. If I need you to lose your lives in order to survive, then I'd rather die myself. That's right. I'm very selfish, so selfish that I don't want any of you to disappear. Besides, spiritual beasts aren't tools of war, they're my family that will accompany me for life. Seeing Sapling's dejected expression, Yun Luofeng raised his hand and rubbed his head. I cut off the connection before because I didn't know about your abilities. So, I can promise you in the future that I won't let you lose contact with me so easily, but I don't need you to die protecting me. It seemed that the warmth of the young girl's palm had lifted the little tree's spirits once again. He threw himself into Yun Luofeng's arms, and an innocent and lovely smile appeared on his face. If they had not seen what he had done before, perhaps everyone would have treated him as a human child. Mother, it was you who gave me life. I will never leave you in this lifetime. Yun Luofeng smiled. Suddenly, she seemed to remember something and her expression froze. Sapling, you've been with me for almost 4 years, but I've never known your identity. Can you tell me now, who are you? Sapling's eyes were full of grievance. I'm not sure either. I'm too young now, and I've only inherited a portion of the inheritance's memories. When I grow up a few more years, perhaps I'll remember everything. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.